Hi everyone, welcome back to our Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire role-playing campaign After the Fire. It is Thursday once more. My little indicator is going, so I'm guessing you can hear me. I'm always paranoid now that I've had to change my headset over. But welcome back. We have a full cast with us tonight. I am very excited to see what they get up to, as it is all to play for, as we've been chatting in the green room up until now. Let's go around. Let's check in with everybody, see how you're doing since the last week. First on my overlay is Tom. How are you, friend?
I'm tired. I'm so very, very tired.
It's all right.
I need the weekend.
Not a lot for you tonight. I'm not going to any nasty surprises.
Thank you. Thank you. Although I would...
The paranoia.
I would literally kill though for a 3-day weekend. But yeah, I'm just tired. I'm just tired. And I'm very excited to see what devious plans certain people in this very call have. Not naming names at all. But yeah, if you couldn't guess from the reaction, well, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm begging for the weekend. That's all.
Fair enough. Only one more day. Only one more day. And you know, you do a proper job where you have to go outdoors and move things around.
Does a proper job. Mine's just slightly more physical. But everyone here does a proper job.
Has it been raining though?
But no, but it is going to rain tomorrow, so I'm going to get absolutely sopping wet tomorrow. So that's a nice way to end the week.
Great. Cool.
Yeah.
Millie.
Oh, hi.
You going to get rained on tomorrow, or you're going to be okay?
I hope not. Okay. Tomorrow's the start of a Vampire the Masquerade short campaign, so I'm waking up again. Having been red last week, I'm going to have red hair this week. So I hope I don't get rained on.
Yeah. No,
who
that's
knows? Fair. Depends if deliveries turn up and I have to answer them in full costume again, because that's always fun. Didn't get any while I was dressed as a red tiefling, though, which is kind of a shame.
I was going to ask.
I did scare the shit out of Jay's kids, though, so that's fun.
Good.
And to go down and be like, don't be afraid, but I look like I'm from hell.
Have you got any more of that planned? We're going to see more Red Millie?
Yes. Every other Sunday. We're going to be doing that for the foreseeable.
All right, nice. See. So an investment in red gloves might be the way.
Yeah, red gloves need to occur because everything I own, I keep finding like, oh, on the toilet seat. Oh, on the shutters of the window. Oh, the kettle. Things Millie shouldn't touch while in costume. Yeah, red gloves and a sponsorship by Mayor on face paint would be awesome.
Yeah.
No.
That's fair. Alrighty. And Susie, in the little middle there, how you doing?
Hello. I'm okay. Not much has changed since yesterday when I was here for Hex Crawl. Athrena got pissy yesterday, and I'm sure that the fury of her many wounds will make Miria pissy today. But also my husband today, my beautiful, wonderful husband, whom I love and cherish, while I was doing my makeup, comes on and goes, oh, making sure you look nice for your funeral, are you? So there may be another fucking funeral coming up really soon in Canada. Just saying.
He's a keeper.
He's a shitbag. But yeah, so that's been my day today. I stress ate a lot of noodles. I ate too many noodle.
Oh no.
So I'm full of noodles, full of anxiety.
Okay, good. we'll get to it soon enough, I guess. All right, moving around. Don, what have you been up to?
Oh, the usual, just working, having fun. And I see on the map that we have in Roll20, all of the armies, and there's a lot of armies on this map, they've all gotten crunched into like this little tiny, tiny space, which makes me very excited about what's to come.
Jonathan Fry, a fan of lots of men in tight spaces.
Right, yes.
As is Samuel Tarly.
Yeah, I was trying to fit all the little icons on the around Aegon on the map,
great.
so it
I
didn't
love
look
it.
silly. But yeah. Good.
But yeah, I've been good. I'm super excited. Love the last few sessions and everything's coming to a head. I'm glad that we have the entire group here today for this because I'm really interested in the other stories that are going on too. So I'm just looking forward to it. I don't have a game tonight, so I get to drink a little bit while I play, which is always a nice treat. And I'm ready for all the juice.
Yeah, nice. And I am ready for you to absolutely murder me on Saturday in our Dark Sun game. I'm ready for it. I'm preparing myself.
It's looking rough. It's
looking really rough. Don throwing the hardest D&D spell at us.
Like
Prismatic
several of
Wall.
them combined. Prismatic Wall with a little reverse gravity.
No.
That was just in the first round too. So we'll see how it goes.
More like invisible, sneaky. And the big bad's like, I see you, basically. Although I'm not sure if he sees me, because I've got I'm all wigged out, so I don't get detected. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many other player characters I'm going to have to sacrifice in order to just stay up there and Assassin's Creed the motherfucker when he's dropped all his defenses, but we'll see.
Maybe all of them.
But it will be worth it. No, I'm fully prepared to. At some point, I know I'm just going to yeet myself at what's happening and just suffer all the consequences.
I'm looking forward to
I'll get bored or something. I don't know. V, what have you been up to this past week?
Pretty much the usual. Lots of writing work at the moment, which is fun. With Fallout things. Mostly work and running my players through my Ravenloft game, which is fully turned into horror comedy now.
Okay.
But I did manage to take nearly all of the paladin's armor off of him. I convinced him to drop all of it down a 50-foot hole in the dungeon.
Okay.
To avoid drowning. It's great. He does now have a crotch piece of holding though, so I don't know at what cost. I'm not really sure who's tormenting who anymore. Things have happened.
Fair. I mean, it's a bold move if you want to kind of emasculate somebody.
He's playing a character called Flashheart, literally based on Flashheart from Blackadder. It's a disaster.
Okay.
He's a paladin that actually wants to be a bard.
Yeah.
And the two tanks in the group have got no strength and don't tank anything, and they're currently all lined up in a 5-foot wide corridor with just the one at the front being stabbed with daggers that are stealing max HP from him. And they're all like, why did we do this? Why did we come down here and start shouting around without checking where we were first? So yeah, there's that. And then playing games. I'm in one of Don's games. My character ran into some light and now I don't know where they are or what's happening. And I've only been playing them for 2 sessions. I may have killed them already.
Good. That sounds like a Jonathan Fry game.
Yeah, so my life has just been writing RPG stuff and then either tormenting or being tormented in games. It's great. And I'm terrified by tonight's title, so...
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
It has. It's about time. It's about time. I accept that it's my turn now. I'll take the mantle from you, Susie. You can have it back directly after this, but...
No, V. I bestow onto you the trauma mantle. Please look after it, because I don't fucking want it back.
All right. Well, I guess that's the ado. So let's crack on. So this is the 13th session of our 6th season, entitled I Am Hers and She Is Mine. Mara, With all the news that's been coming into camp, with all of the march west towards Highgarden, you've had very sparing moments to actually sit, rest, and be with your new husband. But you are, fortunately, thanks to the gods, afforded this time just now together to take a little food, drink, and wait out the evening encamped together. And what does this look like for the two of you?
I imagine that this is when they've gone back to their tents. I like to think that they probably tried to spend time around, the men at camp and the other people there, but eventually retiring back to the tent that's, private, the flat closed. Just being able to be the two of them, especially being on march, because it's, like you said, it's just constantly moving and there's always people. And the closer we get to Highgarden, the more people that want to talk to the both of them, the more war council meetings there are. So I imagine at least that's where Mara is, probably sat down, probably on the floor, just cross-legged, no longer in anything, fancy, something comfortable, and pillows on the floor, that kind of thing, just trying to relax. How relaxing it is to be in an encampment mid-March, I don't know, but...
About Samuel.
Ever since Summer Hall, Samuel's sort of been this up and down presence in the camp. Like some days he's very grim and it's sort of like there's a cloud over him and anybody who has to interact with him. And then other days he's full of energy and he's out there trying to get the spirits of the men up, wrestling with them and, energetically engaging people, getting their opinions about things. But it's been up and down during this march. And then his father passed. And for a couple of days, that dark cloud was back about a day ago or so. It's like a weight has been lifted off of his shoulders. That's at least how he presents himself. And, this evening, he's probably spent time, as he does many evenings when they finish a long march, making sure that the camps and armies are in the position, and if they have to change positions because of the geography, he sort of dictates or tries to dictate, where the various houses set up camp, who's in the van, who's in the rear, who takes center guard, where the war machines aimed, making sure everything's ready just in case there's any surprises. He has this routine. And so he's gone about doing that and is very happy when that work is done. So I think probably in their tent, he's on their cot, their bed, whatever it is. He's got his armor on a stand near the bed. His sword is probably slung over the armor with, a shoulder sheath, just kind of, glinting in the lantern light. And he's probably wearing dirty pants, no shirt. He's just laid out in bed. He's had he's had probably, one of the servants that are following their houses bring him a large bowl of grapes because I think he's run out of apples. And so he's just, relaxing. He's not drinking because there's a battle upcoming. He tries not to. So he's doing the next closest thing. He's plucking grapes off of a little vine, just kind of relaxing in the tent.
I think in that case, Mara's probably sat on the floor next to the cot, like also picking from the same barrel of grapes. I think she probably does her best to not drink the way that Samuel does before a battle, so that it's like she doesn't want to be the one that's sitting there drinking in front of him when he can't drink, especially when it's just the two of them together. But I imagine she's quite quiet, like quieter than usual with everything coming up.
How far are we, just for context, like how close are we to Highgarden at this point?
Probably only a few days out. Not far at all, really, given the speed of the column.
Okay. Okay, so, they're sitting there in quiet for a time, and Samuel's relaxing, kind of laying on his side on the bed. He looks down to Mara and he says, dragon for your thoughts?
Oh, it's just the closer we get, I thought I'd get used to the feeling by now after Summerhall and the wedding, but it doesn't go away. It just gets worse.
There's a chance that things go terribly wrong when we get to Highgarden, perhaps even before. It may be that retreat, not that I think we'll need it, is not really an option for us. If you'd like, when Gregor returns, I could send you and him.
No. I mean it, Samuel, no.
I wouldn't force you to go, Mara. It's just that if something happened to me, my father gone, there is no House Tarley without you.
There might not be one even with me. We don't have an heir. Women can't even inherit in the Reach. There's nothing to say that Harris won't hand Hornhill off to the first person that he thinks is going to give him some advantage.
I don't believe that Harris has that in him, and I think the boy's quite fond of me.
Not that I like to think about it, but it's very hard to be fond of somebody when they're dead, Samuel.
Well, I don't imagine, even should we lose, that I will die. Perhaps they'll send me to the wall. But, as I said, I'm confident.
Feels like we were playing at it before, when your father was still here. But now we are the head of this house. And
plucks another grape as you're talking, just plucks another grape from the vine.
Could I have stopped you? Coming to war. She doesn't look at him when she asks him this. She's looking down into the bowl of grapes as she picks up another one and doesn't actually go to eat it. She just kind of rolls it around in her fingers.
There's a little smile in his eyes, empathetic, but also like a little inquisitive. And he kind of reaches down and touches the side of her face where the scar is, and pulls back his hand. And he says, I don't think I ever had a choice about going to war. It was going to happen one way or the other. You might have convinced me to not start one.
So she was right.
Who?
It doesn't matter. Not really, I suppose. We're here now.
There's something that's weighing on your heart, Mara. Tell me.
When I went and spoke to Faye, which, as you already know, went disastrously wrong just as much as your last conversation with her did, it's like she blamed me for you being here, being at the center of all of this. Yeah. That day we went looking for you, she thought I was crazy to try and ride out onto that field. She was probably right.
Oh, you did almost get cut down.
Well, lucky that somebody bought me armor as a wedding present then. But
I think Faye, and this is just a guess, might believe that because she knew me in a different time. When I was younger, my hands were mostly clean of blood. When I had never taken responsibility for my house or the fact that I would one day be its ruler. And I was just a boy. So what I am now, for better or for worse, might be at odds with who she believes me or believed me to be.
it's like she blamed me. I told her that I was riding out to keep you safe, and she asked me what you were doing here if I was doing that.
Yeah.
I told her she was wrong. I told her that I couldn't have talked you out of doing this. The only option I had was to follow you here, or to sit back behind some walls and just wait. And I'm not doing the last one, as she kind of like hammers the point home that she's not leaving again.
He holds up a hand and nods his head, and then plucks another grape and chews it and swallows it and says, Faye and I were something of an arranged marriage to be, but there was young love between us, I think, and a certain admiration and connection that still exists now.
I know. Why do you think I locked her in a side room at our wedding?
Yes, well, perhaps we made a mistake.
No. If you had brought her up on those battlements, she would have called you on your bluff, and you wouldn't have been able to put her to the sword. It would have made you look weak.
In a couple of days, none of this is going to matter. We will know the road of our future, and we will walk it together, whatever it is. But during the battle, this time, Mara, no matter if you're worried about me, no matter what happens, stay safe. Stay here in camp, and if they come for you, surrender immediately. Please.
I can't promise you that. I promise you that I'll try. But I can't promise that the circumstances will let that happen. I can't promise you that I'll stay here in camp. I can't promise you that I won't ride out across another field looking for you either. And I won't lie to you and say that I will when I know that I can't. You're the only family I've got left.
That's exactly why it's important to me that you stay safe and you surrender. If I survive, I'll find you. But you can't fight the Targaryens, Mara. You're strong in ways that I'm not. But you're not a knight. You're not a general. And who knows? perhaps we do have an heir on the way.
She kind of puts her hand to her stomach. I hope so. But what if... I don't know if you believe me when I tell you what Marcia did. I don't know if you believe in the old gods and the blood magic, but whether it was Marcia or some horrible coincidence, what if I was wrong? What if it's not that I couldn't have his children? What if after that I just can't? What then?
He sits up and slings his legs over the edge of the bed and kind of leans forward on his knees a little closer to you, and he says, I respect your faith, Mara, in the old gods. But this new reach that we're trying to create together, it's important to me that we stand in the same place on this. Magic isn't real. People use magic and superstition to control others. Marcia, I believe you, trained her cat to attack, tried to kill you and leave you for dead. But there's no such thing as curses. There's no such thing
there when my
as
brothers were
blood
born.
magic. Coincidence, Mara. A defect. It happens. And we look at coincidence and we imagine magic.
Then tell me how I lived. How I got out of that godswood.
Because you're strong. And because my father was there to catch you when you fell.
I'd be dead if it wasn't for him.
There's no magic to that. Just family.
Your father was a good man. I still remember. I remember that day so clearly. But I remember him taking me back to that tent, and I must have been babbling like a crazy woman, covered in blood and dirt. And when they'd done stitching up my arm and my face, I told him then and there that I loved you, that I wanted to marry you, that I wouldn't take no for an answer. And he just looked at me the way my father always looked at me when I told him there was something that I wanted, something that I cared about. He could have left me there. He could have dismissed it. But he just told me that we talk about it later because we had to go and find you, and not a we'll talk about it later and we'll never talk about it again. But like he cared. He reminded me a lot of my father.
The tent flap is pushed aside slightly, and a household guard walks in a couple of steps to attention and says to you, "My lord," and he nods his head slightly, and Harris walks in with a little letter wrapped around his finger.
Harris, my lord, welcome. Would you care for some grapes?
He's got a kind of flagon that he's holding in the other hand, and he says, "I'm good, thanks. I just thought you would like to know that we just received this." And he passes the note towards the two of you and waits
Mara's
for you to
probably
take it.
closest. She's picked herself up from the floor as he's entered and grabbed a light shawl and put it over herself because she's not, dressed for being seen in public, and just covers it up and takes it. Is there a seal on this letter?
It's broken, but the seal is of 2 goblets and 2 roses quartered.
Does Mara recognize this seal?
This is Costain's seal.
She kind of has a minute as she thumbs it over in her hand before she opens it and kind of gives a very quick glance at Samuel and moves back to the bed and kind of sits on the edge so he can see over her shoulder as she kind of unravels this letter.
And inside it reads a short missive. To Samuel, your insistence that we abandon Old Town poses great risk to the southwest of the Reach, and I have been thwarted in this seat at every turn by Lord Randall's son Preston, by the small folk of this city, even by the Citadel itself at times. Leaving it will destroy any power base we had established there. While I am reticent to leave, I have followed your instructions and departed with forces that I can muster, as tired and as disorganized as they are. We shall head for Highgarden and look to link up with you once our scouts are closer and report your position. Lord Mathos Costain.
And he reads it out loud so that Harris can hear it as well. And afterwards, he folds the letter and he looks up to Harris and he says, I think it's likely that once we win Highgarden and defeat Prince Baelor, that we will have to continue on to Old Town to make sure that the city is under our control, its people are understanding of the Reach's new future, and perhaps there in the city, my lord, it might be wise to consider amassing something of a fleet.
Yes, scant reports from Old Town have told of piracy. I've heard even word of Ironborn.
He can't help but smile a little bit about that.
Not surprising. War is a time for piracy and bandits. It was the same in the last rebellion.
There were enough pirates going in and out of Lys that I am well acquainted with the type. But you're right, says Samuel. I agree. Highgarden is the first part. The second part is then heading to Old Town and consolidating our power there. I just thought you'd like to know first of all. We'll talk about it tomorrow at the War Council once our scouts finally report back from heading out west.
My lord,
Of course.
a word of advice between the three of us here.
He looks, just very glances quickly towards the guard that's like still stood, and the guy shuffles out.
Yeah.
Lord Mathos Costain is a clever man. He knows how to get things done and get things done well. But do be careful of how much you trust him. He is a man who serves his own agenda too, and not that I would accuse that his agenda is necessarily to stab somebody in the back or to do anything that wouldn't be in line with what any other lord might do to raise their own station. But do be careful when seeking his counsel that he does not come collecting for favors, and question carefully the counsel that he gives you. Words that he spoke to my last husband resulted in a man dying, him going to prison, and my family being torn apart.
Thank you, Lady Mara. All men pursue their own motives. Even mine are somewhat personal than just political.
Of course. Everybody has a motive. Nobody in politics is wholly good. She kind of smiles lightheartedly.
He smiles too, and he adds, and my lord, when this war is over, we have the opportunity to look at the merits of the people who have been on our side and acted, who've proved themselves honorable and capable, and rearrange the new Reach in such a way that we promote those who are the very best of the nation we want to imagine.
I hope so.
During the battle, my lord, if it grows fierce, it is my intention to seek out the prince himself on the battlefield if I can. And because you will be the lord of the Reach, I think you should be by my side. This is a victory we should claim together.
Don, is this something you want to try and convince him of?
Yeah, I want him to ride with me. Yeah, if we go out and we're fighting, like we go drive towards Baelor himself, I want Harris at my side.
All right. Roll me a persuasion convince test or deception, either convince or bluff, if you are not being wholehearted about your intentions.
Okay. Do I know what my DC is? My difficulty is?
Let's have a little look. I usually, for roles like this against like either their intrigue, defense, or passive will, I don't usually say it.
Okay.
Where is he? There he is. But this is a simple intrigue. You're not asking for anything like major out of him that would be particularly out of character, perhaps. So this is just against his intrigue defense. Okay. So depending on how good, his status is, his awareness, his cunning, you're looking at anything from like, a 6 to a 15.
Yeah. Could I argue for command bonus die, like warfare, or no?
No, I don't think in this exact circumstance.
This is more personal. This is more personal.
He is, for all of these, illusions you're making, he is effectively your superior. So it's kind of less command and more of a plea.
I'll spend one of my die. Let me spend my keep die.
Oh wow. Okay.
I receive a penalty. $15.
Okay. He smiles and he puts his now free hand on your shoulder. And he says, people will write songs about us.
Grabs his shoulder and squeezes it hard and kind of bumps his head against Harris's head. And he says, they'll write songs about you, my lord.
And he looks to Mara and then back to both of you. He says, I'll leave you to it. And then he starts to head out the tent.
When he looks at Mara, Mara is genuinely kind of smiling. It's nice to see something that is more positive about the war than, the usual worrying that happens in the war councils. And for a moment, she goes to get up and then thinks better of it. My lord, in the morning, I think perhaps it would be good for you to speak to Lady Faye.
About?
Nothing too concerning, but I believe a letter arrived which might be of interest to you. It's not my place.
In a second.
And she says it with a smile. She's not trying to alarm him, but
okay. And he gives you a kind of knowing look, his eyes going slightly wider, and then he says, thank you. And then he turns and he heads straight out of the tent.
She kind of smiles a little bit at him and doesn't say anything else. This is in her head. She's like, I want to tell him, but it's not my place. Miria would never forgive me. But it's like I can push him in Faye's direction because she knows, because he needs to know. She looks back at Samuel once he's gone. Should I have told him myself?
No, now you don't have to be responsible for being the one telling him. He stands up from the bed and kind of walks around to the lantern. And he says, but I've had enough of work tonight, Mara. Everything will be well. I promise you that, one way or the other.
She kind of gives him a long look and then kind of shuffles to move herself into his space and put her head against his chest. Okay. I just want this to be over. I'm so tired of it already.
I know. One day it will be.
I'm so tired of the bloodshed and working out what to do with that bloodshed and wondering what's going to come back to bite us. Wondering how many other people out there we can trust or can't. I mean, Faye's letter, that was from Miria, but if there's a way to get letters out of our camp without them coming through, what does that even mean?
He nods, but he doesn't say anything about the letter. He leans down and kisses the top of Mara's forehead, and he says, we have tomorrow and the day after that to worry about who might be in the shadows waiting to betray us. We know we can trust each other, and one day we'll be able to trust our children.
She smiles at that. There's one
tonight,
thing I've learned from having brothers and a little sister is that you can never trust children.
Well, we'll be able to trust ours. And he
you
smiles
say that
back.
Now. You wait until they're rummaging around in your armory, finding daggers, bringing them to the dinner table like they found a new toy.
I look forward to it.
She kind of wraps her arms around him. And we are done with work for the day. And just kind of looks up at him and has to kind of reach up to give him a kiss.
And he stoops down to kiss her.
So much shorter than him.
And he reaches out for the lantern. And he says, yes, no more work tonight. And he snuffs the lantern.
All right. Enzo. Back on board the Mermaid Sapphire. After so many years, it's a strange feeling. Even the lapping of the waves against the shore that you're docked up against sends the boat into enough of a little tilt that you still quite haven't found your sea legs yet. But you're in your cabin, and Bianca and a few of the other of your crew, of your most favoured, are attending you and are ready for your orders. What do you imagine this looks like? The cabin, part of the ship that you've been able to tour?
So probably the first thing Enzo did was just literally just kind of like walk around and kind of like put his hand on every plank he could possibly find. You know, like all these things, you know, with the little scratches and, you know, that have been there for many years, and just, like you said, trying to regain his feet, embracing pretty much every person on his crew, because for the longest time that this was his family. And after he did that, I envision him going almost straight to his cabin. And I like to think, as much as he would like it to feel undisturbed, he knows that Bianca absolutely has been using it. There's like bottles of like rum and stuff left over. The desk, the kind of like a small side table desk has got like all pieces of paper all over it. Some of them have actually got kind of like drawings as well. Bianca's a bit of an artist. She likes to draw. He also has the biggest piece of furniture in this room is probably his bed. It is very lavish. It takes up the majority of the room, and it is quite lavish. And Bianca has absolutely been sleeping in it, which is kind of okay. But there is a little bit of room where he can sit down at his desk and where the crew can be with, Bianca and the select few. And he just takes a moment just to kind of just take it all in again, feel the waves beneath him, feel the salt air on his skin and tongue. And it's like, although he's still a bit wobbly, it feels like a part of him has been returned to him, that a part of him was missing. And now he feels almost completely whole again. And they just kind of like mull around and start whispering with each other while he just sits there and goes through some of Bianca's drawings. And as he flicks through, which is some landscape ones, there's some portraits here and there. There's one particularly of like a blonde woman, and he pauses at that, and he kind of just like places a piece of paper over it and turns to the others and looks at Bianca and looks around. Well, see that you made yourself comfortable in my room.
Yeah, I did.
At least you kept it warm.
It's more that can be said for some of the crew. We had quite a few desert over the last year. Go on to other ships. Head off back out to the narrow sea. I've had to take on a few deckhands from Flea Bottom, of all places.
Flea Bottom. We were that desperate.
I don't know what you might be planning, Captain, but we're definitely not a kind of crew complement that we were before.
Well, I guess it would be too much to ask that they would stick around and wait for me.
They're good sailors, but they don't have the life in them, you know?
Well then, I think we should give them something to live for. Gold tends to do that to most people.
Well, what the Ironborn had were a good sample so far. Few of the Flea Bottom urchins, their eyes were as wide as dinner plates when they saw the first few little sparklies come on board.
Oh, that is good. I hope you told them that is just a sample of what could potentially come.
Oh, yeah. So, what are we hitting first?
We're not quite going out just yet. There is some unfinished business that I need to take care of.
And her shoulders sink.
Bianca, I need you to trust me on this. It's something personal to me. And I need to do this. And you're probably not gonna like where we're going to go.
I've trusted you for near half a decade. And we've been stuck in the Blackwater Rush with the fishers and the fucking trading barges.
I know.
Without a ship to go anywhere. Without a hull intact. And you know what I could have done? As soon as you got us that cash to get the repair work done, I could have just fucked off into the narrow sea and never saw you again. But I didn't. Did I?
No. You didn't.
Now I'm asking myself why.
You like me.
And she kind of like throws her weight around a little bit and then kind of turns back to you with a hand on her hip and kind of, there's a little bit of a smile there, like that she's trying to suppress, but
I need to send a message to someone, and I need potentially will be taken on a passenger, depending on what happens. We need to go down the Manda towards High Garden.
when she looks really confused at you and then she says, we don't know it.
No, but I'm sure we are skilled enough to figure it out. I mean, I can always hire someone from High Garden when we get there to go even further, if she'll fit. Find out one way.
Hang on. She pulls out a map of the
Yeah.
south of the Seven Kingdoms and she's pointing.
So-
And she points vaguely at High Garden,
Mhm.
but in a way that like someone who isn't great at geography, or you ask someone to like point at a capital city on a
Yeah,
blank map.
yeah.
She's like, so this is the river, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how far are we going? She points vaguely, probably a little bit too far actually up the Manda.
Yeah. Well, we were at least going to High Garden. We'll
And
be
then?
docking there. Then I get some information. And then depending on that information, it depends how far up the river we go.
I've not heard of ships going up the Manda besides maybe pleasure barges and maybe the Ironborn in their longboats. What's a cog like this? How is the Sapphire going to get down there and turn if we turn at all?
I've seen the size of the Manda going
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, you have.
How far can we get the Sapphire safely? Would you say? Could we
How
just
far?
reach High Garden and then we'd have to switch?
How far up the Manda?
Yeah.
I think you could safely say that you could navigate like where it splits off with the Cockles went.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's quite far.
So you could get up. So you could get up to wherever the Fossleways are, wherever that's Cider
Essentially,
Hall.
Yeah.
And I
essentially,
think
just
you
wanna
could
get-
even get up a bit towards House Rome, but not very far, like
Could we-
down here.
Could we turn around?
It'd be like a kind of 20-point turn in the
million-point
road,
turn.
but it would be like a bit of a 1,000,000-point turn. But you could turn. You could turn.
Okay.
That river is navigable,
Yeah.
and rules as written, it allows ships. A river, whatever that terrain piece is, allows ships. So you could do it.
We are going to go up as far as we can go, or until I find our destination, which, Bianca, I'm not going to lie, it is a war camp that I'm trying to find. There's a person in that war camp that I need to talk to.
Well, once we actually reach the area, war camp shouldn't be too difficult, I suppose.
Yeah,
They're usually quite big, quite loud,
Just follow the smell. What I tend
quite smelly.
very smelly. It will only be quick, or at least I hope it will be quick. It depends on how they take it. I just have to do this because I made a promise, and I have to do it. And then afterwards, I promise you, the Sapphire will sail the seas again. I mean, think of it. The Mermaid Sapphire, the first vessel to navigate the Manda so far away. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Roll me a persuasion convince.
Okay. Hang on, something went wrong there. Sorry, that's wrong. I think.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, wait, hang on. Sorry, it's been a while.
It's either a 10 or a fucking 23. What are you doing?
No, sorry, it's the 10, but I can re-roll the one.
Yeah, there's.
Sorry, I've got a shortcut that says persuasion, but that's persuasion charm.
Got you.
Not persuasion convince, which I'm assuming this is because she already kind of likes me. So that actually would be. So you drop the 2. 8.
So you'd be keeping 4 dice. So 6, 3, 3, and 2.
2.
It's 13.
13. There we go. 13. Roll 20 hates me. Really does.
She sighs. She gives you one little look again with a raised eyebrow, and she turns and she says back to you as she's walking out of the cabin, "I'll go and break it to the sailors." And she heads out the door.
Well, before you go, you might want to have your sword and shield handy, and the others, just in case. We are going into a war, and there are Ironborn about.
She kind of gives you a nod and she furrows her brow like she's really thinking about it, and then she just flits her eyes back to you and she says, "So who is she?" So who is she?
Her name is Faye, and I'm sure you will meet her very shortly. Now go. Get the crew ready.
And she leaves, but she still keeps an eye trained on you as she just moves through the door and then out onto the deck of the ship. Is there anything you'd like to do or you'd like to prep before you leave?
I have a question. Do I have a rowboat attached? I would imagine I do. Or
if you spend a destiny point, you can have a rowboat attached. That's spend, not burn. So if you complete an objective, then you'll get it back.
Okay, I will spend a destiny point to have a rowboat.
Mm-hmm.
And can my objective be to reach my destination? I mean, what kind of objective can I go for?
It sounds more like your objective is to get Faye out of the war camp.
Well, it's more get a meeting with Faye.
Okay. Get a meeting with Faye is a perfectly acceptable objective for me. Yeah.
Yeah, as a objective. I might even consider. I want to avoid as much questions as. I mean, there's going to be questions. A fucking ship is going down the Manda, which is a rare sight. But I might want to get a navigator who knows the river a lot better than we do, the currents and stuff like that, at High Garden, and I'd pay for one like that. Did my companions all make it on the ship?
Oh. Let's roll for them, shall we? Where was my Chronicle starter?
Oh, dear.
So what we're going to do, Tom, each of them is going to roll a fighting test.
Okay.
God, I'm 100% on my bullshit tonight, I swear.
Because,
hang on.
They're an archer.
Yeah. A fighting or marksmanship test.
Okay. I think the squire's going to die.
And this is going to be against the Ironborns. The Reaver's passive fighting.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, as long as it's the normal Reaver, because if I remember correctly, the boss had fighting 4 or 5, I think?
5.
5. So the normal Reavers has got to be like a 3 or 4, so they're looking for a 16 at the max. This is me, logic kind of mechanic kind of thing. Okay.
I will nod and be non-committal, but yeah. Each of them is going to make a fighting or marksmanship test. If they do not pass the test, you unfortunately cannot regroup with them.
Oh, poop. Okay. Do you want me to roll it, or are you going to roll it? You want me to roll it?
I want you to roll it, Tom.
All right. Okay. So what's...
Have we got stats for everyone? I don't think we do.
I essentially did a general, so it's like archer, knight, squire, spy, she wasn't there, or armored infantry. I think they're actual units that you can get in the book. I kind of just kept it as like simple as possible for yourself, so it's like, oh, it's already there.
All right. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure the archer had 4 or 5. Oscar had 4 or 5. I think it might have been 5. It's whatever an archer is. Hang on.
Let's look for secondary character doodads. Most important ability is rank 5. Select 2 more abilities is rank 4, and 4 more abilities are rank 3.
So it's going to be what, 5?
If that's their most important stat.
It is. Yeah, it is. He's an archer.
Okay. Yeah, the archer would have 5.
Okay. Okay, so archer. Well, he's dead.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, lost Oscar. Okay. I've got the knight, which I imagine fighting is his most important.
Yep.
Which is 5. He's okay.
Oh, he's okay, yeah.
The squire. What do you want to put to him? Would you want to bundle him with the knight, or
Squire's going to be less well trained, I think. Look at your abilities, not your ability scores necessarily. Look at your abilities there, and think, what approach would you want the squire to take? I think we even have a squire in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Would you want him to hide? Would you want him to run? Would you want him to try and fight? Would you want him to...
I reckon he was only a kid. He was only like 12, 13.
Mm-hmm.
So probably either hide or run. I would imagine his knight would tell him to hide or run while he was fighting.
So which is it?
I'll tell him to hide.
Okay.
Unless there's a...
No, all good. Roll me 3.
No, we can't.
D6 then.
Succeed, unfortunately, I don't think. Oh no, he can. If he rolls all
I'll judge him on his own merits.
Okay. Oh my god. 8. He's dead.
Yeah.
He got stabbed. And Marley, which is the armored infantryman.
Oof. Roll 5.
Yeah.
D6 for the fight in there.
Jesus.
15? Yeah. Unfortunately, he bought it as well.
Jesus.
Just
Good job.
not enough.
Didn't pay it. These are crap.
They were fighting. They were fighting an
knight.
Ironborn longship on their own, and then the Sapphire turned up.
Nah, they would have been fine. All right, so I've just got a very pissed off Sir Garth.
Is that it?
That's it. Because Ren isn't there. She was looking for Sir Dennis, and we left before she arrived.
Right.
And
is she meant to head back to you, or is she meant to head back to Faye?
Well, I said
Or-
that to find me. So essentially, it was like find Sir Dennis, then find me. Whether
Okay.
you know, like information through the spy network can get around to like I've left to elsewhere to go somewhere. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they know I'm going to see Faye, so I think it might be able to find him. But yeah, that's it. All my companions, apart from Sir Garth, is either dead or MIA. So yeah. I like to think they ran, but let's be honest, they're dead.
Yeah, Reavers aren't known for being the most
No, it's okay. I killed
nice
their
with
leader.
their-
All good.
yeah.
Um,
And the
well,
crew of
that
the
saves-
Sapphire, took the rest of them out. Crew
Yeah.
of the Sapphire took the rest of them out.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I've got a really pissed off knight who's ready to kill. I'm happy with that. Sorry. So, yeah. So I was going to try and find a guide for the river in Highgarden when I arrived. Tried to avoid as much, notice as possible.
Yeah, trying to be seen.
Yeah.
In a massive ship
Yeah, in a massive
that just
ship.
about
Well,
that
no,
just about fits down the river it's going down.
Nah, yeah, you're right. Ignore that. Ignore that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to fully embrace being seen.
All right. As you should.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Miria.
I don't wish to be seen. I do not wish to be perceived.
There is a rumble of thunder again as the storm starts to roll in from the Stormlands from the east. And then south down the Boneway as it crashes against the shore. The rain isn't coming down where you are, but you can see there's sheets of it coming down in the Sea of Dawn to the east. As you make your way as best you can along the Boneway. How would you insist on travelling with your men as you make your way back to Castle Ironwood?
I think Miria would try and pull that tough guy, like, I can ride, I'm fine, but she's absolutely not. Like, she's probably got like a fractured skull, like her left arm is probably, her shoulder's probably broken because she took a really nasty heavy hit on the shoulder.
Right.
She's got that arrow wound. So I think she is riding with someone because she's probably going to have moments where she's like in and out.
Yeah, so you're riding on the back of, and who was your sergeant, the guy we came up with? The guy that you came
Lysander.
up with? Lysander, yeah. So you're riding on the back of Lysander's horse as he takes the reins and he takes the saddle and slowly trots the horse down the Boneway and tries to make it over those little passes and little pathways and stuff that skirt through the mountainside. And yeah, you're starting to feel again a bit woozy, like you might go. You grip as hard as you can to him as you notice looking down that you've bled through again on the bandage that's been wrapped around your right hand side, kind of around your tummy. And so the columns called for a stop again today, and they don't make a camp, but there are a couple of cook fires go up briefly with any kind of dry kindling that they've got to hand. And rations and supplies are brought out of saddlebags, and people start to eat a little bit. There are noticeably much fewer soldiers here from the army that you commanded north. And that reminds me, actually, so the Order of the Blood Royal were disorganized during the battle. So I do need them to roll for their veterancy. See if they were kept all right. So casualties. When you're disorganized, You must make an endurance resilience test once the battle is over. That's the unit's stats for endurance,
Okay.
not your own.
Okay.
A failure reduces their veterancy by 1, while a critical failure, which is 5 or more below the target you're looking for, means that they are destroyed. A support unit can substitute their healing, treat injury, for the unit's endurance test. But I don't think you came with any support.
No, we don't have them with us.
No. So they were disorganized. So this is a challenging 9 endurance test.
Okay. So they have 4 in endurance.
Okay. You should be okay.
So we'll should be all right. Let's give them a go. 15.
Nice. They are okay. Their veterancy is maintained. Good. So yeah, it's the numbers that you have here marching back to House Ironwood are obviously much less, but in proportion to the army that you are commanding. You've had no word from the forces that you sent to the north of the pass, and a lot of the infantry that you were commanding kind of on that southern flank are starting to kind of reappear again, just sporadically, few at a time. But there's no clear organisation. But Lord Peak has re-emerged.
Well, that's good at least. That's one. Where's Karen?
Oh, not Lord Peak, Lord Karen, that's who I meant.
Oh, okay.
Lord Peak's dead, right?
Yeah, Lord Peak's dead, but there was the Peak Man at Arms, right? That was leading the Peak contingent that I had.
Yeah, they routed, so they're not so bad. But Karen and Manwoody were both defeated. So the Karen knights that were there with you have, there's only a couple that have really re-emerged. But Lord Pierce is with you. That's why I thought Peak Pierce.
Yeah,
is his first name. So, yeah. So he's further back in the column, and they, start to gain on you a little bit with that kind of car piling up effect, where as the front of the column starts to slow and stop, the rest kind of, meet up with it, and they're like, oh, okay, we're stopping, and then everyone settles down. Lysander turns back to you and looks down at your stomach and says, oh, that looks bad again.
I need to change my bandages. I am not feeling well, Lysander. My head is foggy.
We need to get you to a maester. It's still a few days' ride. If you can bear it, we can get you to his care. We can get you to maester at Castle Ironwood. But if you don't think that you would make the trip, we can take it slower. Perhaps we can send some forces on and keep a guard here around you. What do you think?
And Miria takes a minute to think, and she's very, very cognizant of rushing will be hard on her. But she also is very cognizant she's carrying a child. And the longer she is here and the longer she bleeds and the weaker she gets, the more at risk she is of losing the child.
And so mechanically, it will be more difficult for you. So the choice I'm essentially offering you is that you can ride hard to get to Castle Ironwood in a much quicker amount of time. And the week that it takes for you to possibly heal a wound, or perhaps 2 if you're lucky enough with your role or with the Maester's role, you can get the Maester's care, so he can substitute his healing for your endurance, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Or you will have an easier DC difficulty to hit on the roll. But you have to rely on your own endurance. And so that's effectively, that's the taking it slower option.
Yeah.
So you can be bundled in the back of a cart or something. You can rest, but you have to rely on your own insurance.
Yeah. Knowing from what I test rolled last week, but not just meta wise, stats wise. Miria will. She says very quietly to Sir Lysander, I need to get to the Maester as soon as I can. Because it's not just my life.
Did he know that you were pregnant? Okay.
No.
So his eyes go a little wider, but he manages to control himself as quite a stoic guy, and he kind of looks around himself. He starts to think, and you see the cogs turning in his mind as he tries to come up with kind of what to do and stuff. He asks for some more bandages, and so you both step down from the horse, and by the side of the pass here, you, and this is looking a little bit more like familiar territory to you now as well. He reapplies the bandages to you, and you help him and pad it out as best you can to stop the bleeding. And then he makes his way off to try and grab some supplies, you think.
Mm-hmm.
You catch Lord Pierce's gaze as he sits by a cook fire as the afternoon kind of draws in. And he just looks concerned at you. He's probably looking a lot more humbled than you've seen him in the past. And he's looking, as tired as you feel. But not noticeably any more wounded or less wounded.
Mm-hmm. I think Miria thinks about getting up to join him, and then she remembers. She has those moments. Oh, you have those moments where you're in a lot of pain, but your brain forgets you're in a lot of pain until you try and do something, and then your brain's like, "Don't." And she tries to, get up to go talk to him, and then she just flops back down and she sort of gestures to him.
He wipes the water that he's been drinking from his mustache, and then he walks over, keeping his gaze on you as he does. He kind of walks across the pass, and then he offers you his water skin.
She'll take a drink.
And it is just water.
Yeah. I think she's glad for it because, they're marching
refreshing
through the Bone Way. It's not, nice temperate here. It's hot.
Yeah. And a vulture circles in the sky above you. You notice as you pull up and take a drink.
Mm-hmm. And she hands his water skin back to him. I am sorry, my lord.
For what?
The losses you've suffered.
We did guard the way, though.
We did. We did.
And if I am not mistaken, I did see his grace fall to your spear before we were pushed back.
I meted out some justice that was long overdue.
Some justice the whole Seven Kingdoms will have felt today.
I hope so.
Bastard Bloodraven. Getting across to the other ravine, the other cliff. Raining down arrows on Manwoody.
It's what I feared would happen. But how can we stop him? He's the Bloodraven. Even now, and she looks up at the sky, remembering that bird that followed them out of the Bone Way. Even now, I'm sure he's following us.
I would only hope that Lord Fowler has given him some second thought to that. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure he would be. Lord Bloodraven is not known for pressing when he doesn't have the advantage. He thinks again before he speaks, but he says he'll look to get back at us in different ways.
Oh, I'm certain that he will. Lord Karen, could you get a message, write a message? I would myself, and she kind of like tweaks her head a little bit.
And he nods and he turns and he walks over to a couple of other soldiers there, and he's kind of clicking at them like quill parchment, like trying to get something off people. And you can see actually much closer now that he's got a little bit of a half limp going on, but eventually gets something to write on and substance to write with, and he will take down your letter.
We need to send a letter to Bittersteel and tell him and His Grace the King of what happened here today. And perhaps if we tell Bittersteel that this is where Bloodraven is, well, then we'll have some reinforcements arriving quickly.
I mean, I wouldn't be sure of that if they're still besieging Sunspear. Perhaps that's broken, but if they are, they're unlikely to send forces this far north. Especially to Will.
I'm counting on the bad blood between Bittersteel and Bloodraven.
No, it's a fine
I can't imagine the siege at Sunspear would last very long. The prince is dead and his son was but a whelp. And if Bloodraven left, then what do they have?
Yes. I mean, I'm quite sure then that dawn should fall soon.
You say fall. I say liberated.
I wouldn't get too presumptuous yet. This isn't my first trip through the Reach or Dawn.
The fact that a Martell is dead and a Targaryen is dead is a good portent for us. And as much as I loathe the man, Samuel Tarley is doing a fine job in the Reach.
Let's hope Lord Harris can learn from that then.
I'm sure he will. He's a fine leader. And a good man.
I hope so, because I, nor most of the Reach, barely know him. And you can only exist on the reputation of your father for so long.
Emiria at that lets out a laugh. If only you knew. But let me tell you from personal experience, Lord Harris is a man to follow. He is good, he is fair, and he's a fearless fighter.
Well, he's going to need all of that in the coming weeks, I'm sure.
As no doubt will we all.
Lysander returns and he's bundled up and has over his shoulder some extra saddlebags that you can tell that he's intent on putting on your horse. And he's also got one of the squires to bring up a second sandsteed. He looks down at you and he says, I was thinking of a third, but actually it's not that much distance. So as long as we can ride one of the horses ragged, we can move on to the next, and then we should be back. Are you ready to go?
And she looks across at Lord Karen. You'll have to excuse me, my lord. My injuries are quite severe. I'm going to make haste for Ironwood.
I'll keep the column heading south, or we meet up with you there and work out where I am due next.
Well, when you arrive, we'll have warm beds and fresh food for you.
I would send some scouts north, perhaps, to try and find some answer, some news from Lord Fowler and his flank, but I'd just be worried that they would just be vulture meat. So
we'll regroup when we all make it to Ironwood. Choose our next path from there.
Good luck.
She just nods and she sort of reaches up to like get a hand up from Lysander.
Yeah, and it pains you to get up, and it's even more agonizing to get onto the back of the horse. But finally, once you're on, and you've got your arms around Lysander, you can relax a little. But the ride is going to be hard. It's going to be incredibly uncomfortable as you push on through night and most of the day, the next day, only pausing for a short break just to rest the horses, just to catch a couple of hours of sleep before pushing on again. Faye. Where are you in the evening, now the late evening probably, of this encampment? Where you've been marching for a couple more days. It's the same evening of the scene with Samuel and Mara. And so you've only got a couple more days to High Garden.
I think she would have stayed out there for quite a while, just firing into that tree. She's not pleased with how that went. And I don't know how you want to work that, whether somebody would come and find her during that, or if she would then get that out of her system and go and find Harris. But that's the plan. She just doesn't want to do it while she's still all ragey.
I imagined that actually this would be like maybe a day or so later, that you've had a little chance to cool down. But I do want to ask this of the Tarleys. What freedom is Faye now afforded in camp after your last encounter?
I think she's afforded the same freedom that she was previously. She can go around camp and talk to people, but it probably would not be very difficult to realize that more of the Tarley guards and knights are watching you.
Okay. And so you are given some dinner, and it's a little bit more meager than the last good meal that you had in camp. You've been given a little less. Perhaps rations are running low, or perhaps this is a sign of your intentions and your allegiance to this war host. Regardless of that, just outside your tent, you hear a... Oh, it doesn't matter, just make way. And Harris's voice calls out in the night. Calls that out in the night. Then a moment later, your tent flap shoots off to the left and he strides into the room. And he just looks at you for a second. I'm sorry to barge in like this, my lady.
Don't trouble yourself about it. It seems something of a habit of the men of this camp. Is there something I can help you with?
Lady Mara said you might have some news for me. A letter?
Did she indeed? Yes. Please sit down.
And he pulls back at that a little bit.
Nobody's dead.
And he
Stand if you wish. I don't much care. I was being polite. I can stop.
He paces a couple, and then he just thinks he's being silly and he sits down.
Better. I was sent a letter from the Lady Myria. It was intercepted.
That piques his interest, and he sits forward, his hands clasped in front of him, and he looks down at them for a second. Then he looks back up at you, and he says, "And what news?"
Might I ask first your intentions towards the lady? Did my words land a blow at all?
We have had and we hold some affection for each other.
Really?
Since we knew each other at... Well, we can either play fools or we can speak plainly.
Both, perhaps. Well, it's good that you've chosen to speak plainly about that. The Lady Myria is with child. I can only assume that congratulations are deserved.
I think his first reaction is to smile, and then suddenly he, like, the weight of this all, you can see it kind of starts to like dissolve into him, and it just pushes all of his kind of body down a little bit as again the cogs start to whir inside his head. He tries to
have
think.
Amusing timing, don't they?
They do.
I thought you'd want to know before you charged off playing the hero.
Maybe I should have listened to our dance teacher.
It's a little late for that, don't you think?
He starts raving a little bit about how she was going to war. She was off to, like, fight and defend the Boneway. Has she sent her forces, or is she... And he starts to... All these little questions that the letter probably doesn't answer, he starts to kind of fling and throw at you.
All I know is that she is with child and she wishes you to know. I would encourage you to think about the forthcoming battle and the effects that might have upon her and the child.
He, rather excitedly, he kneels down in front of you and he looks up at you and he says, "You said this letter was intercepted. So
Yes.
It was intended for you?"
Yes.
But Lady Mara got hold of it first.
Lord Samuel got hold of it first. I can only assume that he then told her.
Would you have a way of getting a letter back out to Myria?
Possibly, but they'll be watching me carefully now. What good would a letter do? You are Marshal of the North March. No, you're not.
That's you.
You're Lord Paramount. That's me. I'm getting my jobs confused. You're Lord Paramount of the Reach, or so to be. So you can send letters to whoever you wish. I am the prisoner here, not you.
He thinks on that. And then he just looks at her and in the end he says, "What would you do?"
Well, I would make it my first task not to die in the upcoming battle so that the child may be legitimized and the lady protected and so on and so forth. You know, little things. I can't imagine that your written word would do much at this stage. The lady needs your face, not your words.
And again, is this something you're trying to convince him of?
Yes.
As he's kind of
don't
like
go get killed.
batted back and forth like a tennis
Yes,
ball by
absolutely.
Samuel and everyone else. I feel like it's a day at work. Right, okay. Roll me a persuasion convince then, if you are being truthful.
Okay, and I get +2 to this. 18.
Okay. He obviously looks conflicted when you convince him of this. But he says, do intend to do the honourable thing, politics aside. So, you're right, I guess. We just have to not die.
Just not die. Yes, it's words to live by. Why they don't teach it in school is beyond me. I would caution you, though. Much as I hold affection for the man, I'm still not certain of Samuel's intentions. Just remember that you're the one to give orders during this, not him. You may stay back if you wish. You may lead if you wish. But if you do lead, there will be consequences. And I would hate for Lady Miria and your child to bear them.
Thank you, my lady. And he kind of wobbles out into the into the night out of your tent.
Faye'll just sit down, pour herself a glass of cider, wine, whatever is to hand, and for the first time in ages, just not care about whether it's poison or not. Just deck it.
Dear, oh dear. All right. I wanted to treat the rest of this night maybe a little bit more ambiguously for yourself, because I wanted to give you an opportunity to use your spy network if you wanted to.
Okay.
Because they're in some nice strategic locales right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Roll me a knowledge streetwise check, and you get a +1 dice for them, I think.
Yes, because I'm in that location. I think that's what it is. +1D on knowledge test, so I just up it.
Yeah, nice. Okie dokie. Is it doing anything?
Yeah, that's not good.
Oh.
Oh,
That's not good.
no, it's not.
Oh dear.
Thank fuck for the plausible deniability.
Absolutely. That's very interesting. Your network over the last couple of days has gone quiet.
This is the one in the opposing army, right?
Could be, but you haven't received kind of any little notes, little words, little messages through the songs that are played or whatever it is, however you communicate. Yeah, nothing's actually coming through to you at the moment. So after the rebuttal to Samwell and the kind of extra guard presence that you've had, it's the camp is starting to feel quite lonely and oppressive because you've
that would make sense.
lost touch of that kind of outside world a little bit. Okay, wow. Didn't expect that.
Not me.
No.
Should have used one of my dice, I guess, but it fits. It fits so well with how things are going in camp right now.
Yeah. All right. Samwell. As the morning comes and the camp assembles for a war council, you notice the other lords there and Harris obviously having a conversation with a couple of them, just a kind of bit of chatter in the morning before people actually assemble. But it's noticeable that Lady Faye isn't there yet. Whether she's been scared off by your own orders or perhaps Harris has heard something, she isn't present. Harris has a fairly kind of concerned look on his face, but nothing that would speak to some kind of incredible surprise or particular worry. Just maybe more a determination now that things are starting to take shape and they're starting to figure out what's happening around the Reach and where they're headed. He notices you and he nods as he looks at you from across the kind of table that's put up here for the council meeting, and he invites everyone to take a seat.
So when Samwell arrives to the War Council this morning, he's bright, he's cheery, much like he was the day before. And he goes around, he greets each of the generals, all of those gathered, big friendly greeting, pulls them in for a hug, unless they resist, in which case, he holds a step back from that, just does the arm grip. And before he takes the long way around to sit down in his seat, he just, he goes by Harris, he notices the concerned look, and he doesn't know what it is. But as he passes by, just very quietly, with a friendly pat on the shoulder, he says, "Congratulations."
Harris isn't able to contain the look that he gives you, and it's kind of one of a little realization. Oh no, that's not right. Faye literally told him. That kind of knowing look, that kind of and you get a little vibe of you fucked with me a little bit.
And Samwell doesn't show any kind of reaction to that. He just has a big, earnest, doofy smile on his face. And he goes and he sits down next to Harris.
Harris remains standing as the other lords are a mix of sitting and standing. But as they go quiet, Harris begins to brief them. My lords, our scouts have finally reported back that they have seen Baelor's host. They are not far. They have headed north from Horn Hill, as I suspected. And he looks at you, Samwell, in that second, to intercept us before we were to reach Highgarden. It is still my belief that it would be better for us to meet them on an open field. Command the battlefield as best we can, rather than be grouped up and have our back to the Manda, where if we were to rout, there would be nowhere to go.
Sam, the Mander, are there, as we've, been traveling along it for a while now. Have there been any large bridges over the Mander? Are there, how difficult is it to ford?
It's a swim, not a ford at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Leading up, I think the Mander from its not its source, but where it meets the sea, up towards where it branches off with the Cockles went. That I'm imagining is like Thames width. So for you don't live here. So so it's like a couple 100 feet across at least. It's an unhealthy swim. It can fit. It's true, right? But no, it can fit ships down it if it really must.
Okay.
Not many, but probably a couple abreast at its largest width. But it's big. So this is
there's no bridge over it that we've crossed, right?
The only bridge there would be. Oh, I'm looking at my map on the screen, but it's the same map here, I think. The only bridge is maybe just a few leagues to the east of Highgarden, where the Rose Road heads down over the Mander, and then it heads west towards Highgarden.
Now, how close are we to that?
Closer than Highgarden, for sure. Closer than you are to Highgarden. I would say, because I think it's interesting, you could make that if you marched hard and you didn't stop.
So Samuel leans forward and he says, I did think that this was a possibility, and perhaps this could, in fact, work in our favor. If we march hard, we can reach the bridge and cross the Mander. On the other side of the river, we can set up our archers, our war machines. We can control the choke point and draw them to us, and we can punish them. And then it's them who have to worry about the Mander.
Harris smiles at that. Looks like he quite likes the idea. Who else have you got with you? Which lords again? Lord Caswell says, that's a hard march. If we pushed our troops to cross that river, I would imagine that Prince Baelor's forces would be hot on our tail. And we would effectively be trying to outpace them physically, based on the reports we've had from the scouts. We wouldn't have much time to set up on the other side of the river. We would have to form up very quickly and try to shield the siege weapons, if we were to even use them, from behind the lines on the other side of the Mander, to the north of the Mander. We could try it, but I'm just worried of the organization of our troops. If we do, they would be more vulnerable, they would be more tired than if we were to meet Baelor head on.
That is very good advice, Lord Caswell. Perhaps it is that we do not need all of our troops to form up on the other side of the bridge in the river. Just our siege masters, our archers, our catapults, even our mangonels and scorpions can be on this side of the river. We can have more time to prepare. We can protect the bridge, and should we need to fall back for any reason, we can retreat over the bridge and control that choke point. And I know it's a hard march, and our soldiers have marched hard already, but we have history on our side, and Lord Harris Ball at our head. My lord, I'm sure that if you went and you spoke to the men and you told them that we have this opportunity, all they need to do is remain strong, hold each other up. It's just a short march, a hard march, but a short march. If we meet Lord Baelor in the open field, then there's nothing protecting our backs.
That's true, says Harris. But this march west from Summerhall has already taken its toll. Supplies are already beginning to dwindle in the Reach, and there's not much longer that we can continue this. Marching harder than we are now may actually decrease our supplies quicker. But a bridge and such a tactic is tempting.
You are the lord of this army and of the Reach. You'll make the right decision, and Lord Caswell's advice is good advice as well.
Is he arbitrary? Let me have a look at him. Need to have a look at him. It's like Crusader Kings. Arbitrary? No. Oh, that's difficult. He thinks about it for longer than is comfortable, and the lords start shifting in their seats as they perhaps perceive a little bit of weakness, and they maybe begin to worry. You start to see it creep onto their faces. You see a little fear in Harris's face as he pores over these maps, and you can see him start to maybe he's kind of imagining these scenarios, what they might look like, what this battle might look like. And he looks up to all the lords present and he says, "We'll march to meet Baelor. There's no point prolonging this unnecessarily. We can win here on the plains of the Reach, as our ancestors have on these marches for centuries. And we can take him." And you get a slight sense from how he's speaking that he is not 100% convinced himself of the fact that he thinks he can take the Targaryens. But he is impressing that upon the lords that are sat round the table here as best he can.
Samwell notices his sort of hesitation or his uncertainty, and he bangs on the table and he looks around to the other lords and he says, "This is our time. This is what we have come for. We have stayed war in the Reach and gathered our allies as well as we could with spilling as little bloodshed as we could. But Lord Harris is right. We will meet him in the open field. Well spoken, my lord. And we will be victorious because we have the stronger army, and this is our land. It is not the Targaryens."
There's a cheer goes up from the knights and the lords that are around the tent, around the table. and in amongst the kind of strange self-congratulations that's going on as Harris begins to kind of, join arms with other lords and kind of like shake hands and do that kind of, manly kind of, we're going to do a good thing, we're going to do good. When he reaches you, he is just a little more cautious, but he grabs your forearm and holds it as you do his, and he holds it perhaps a little too hard. Just grips just a little too hard as he looks into your eyes and just nods his head.
Samuel leans in close. He doesn't grip as hard as Harris does. It's just a normal grip for him. And he says, while they're close, as everyone else is cheering, "You have this, Harris. I promise you that."
Right.
And I want to try to roll a charm check on Harris. I want to boost his disposition.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I had his back in the war meeting, even when he didn't agree with my strategy, and I've been nothing but nice to him.
Yeah, no, it's a legit strategy. Okay. Make a roll for me.
Okay.
Obviously deception if you don't genuinely want to be his buddy. And yeah, this will be against his intrigue defense.
Let's see. I get a penalty. A 10.
You're not sure at first if he really believes what you're pressing upon him. But after a second, his expression starts to soften a little, and he nods his head just that little bit more vigorously to what you said.
He gives him a firm, fellow soldier warrior's pat on the shoulder after that. Loosens his grip.
All right. Enzo, I just want to resolve with you figuring out maybe some like navigation rolls or like heading down towards the Mander type stuff. Apart from when you get to Highgarden, finding this like navigator that can help you get around, is there anything else you want to do in between here, where you're on the map, and getting to that estuary towards the Mander and Highgarden?
I would like to know just kind of like general rumors around Highgarden in regards to the war or the Tyrell family or who's in Highgarden. Just general kind of like war rumors. I think I'm out of the loop a bit here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just, like, because I probably know, well, I say I know. Most people know who I am. I can talk to people down at the docks and chat with them and see what they say. I might even be able to introduce myself to a higher lord or two to, I may even ask Godric at some point if I have time to see him.
That's if you get to Highgarden, right?
Yes, that's if I get to Highgarden.
So in before that, in the travel time, are you heading straight there?
Yeah.
Or if you're wanting to get any of these rumors from maybe the other small folk that are around the coastline, are you stopping off at places?
Okay, sure. Why not? We'll stop off at like a small village, maybe to see if what they can tell us about it.
Yeah. Right.
And even we may even get supplies as well. I don't know how stocked up the Sapphire was. It was a pretty kind of like urgent call.
It's stocked.
It's stocked.
enough.
Okay. Fair enough.
At the moment.
That's
I'm
good.
good.
That's
I'm good for
very
that. Okay. Let's have a look. This is gonna be like a streetwise check,
Yeah, just a normal street.
obviously. Maybe you spend a night somewhere, but it's going to be harder because you are like away from the exact. You want info on Highgarden. You're a little bit further out, maybe.
In this village, I want information on the war in general.
All right, current events, attitudes,
current
atmosphere of the
events,
community,
attitudes and stuff like that. When I get to Highgarden, I'll ask more about Highgarden.
Sure.
I don't think peasants will know much. Outside would know much about it.
So roll me a formidable 12 difficulty knowledge streetwise check, and for every degree of success, you can ask me a question.
All right. Let's hope I get one. Nope. Don't get anything.
Yeah, I mean, just asking around, you get a mix of responses about the war. People are pissed it's happening. There are some patriots. There are some loyalists, some rebels. A punch-up occurs at one point because Reds and Blacks are fighting each other. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, you get a mix of stuff, but the small folk here, particularly, they're beginning to feel it hard because stock, goods, they're not moving as well around the Reach anymore. Things are a lot more expensive, and people are taking, what kind of goodness they can in their everyday lives. Some are turning more towards the Seven. Some are, fortifying their own homes, stuff like that. So, they're really not having a good time.
Okay.
And some just blame the Highborn folk for just pissing about against each
they
other.
are the ones responsible. Let's be honest. I might even do a little song, the Butcher song that I came up with, just for the hell of it.
All right, it's like spreading it around a little bit.
Yeah, why not? But yeah, in that case, I'll just head. Currently, I just want to try and get to Faye as quick as possible.
All right. So I am going to need a survival orientation check.
So is that for the sailing?
I reckon, yeah.
So I don't sail the boat. Bianca does. So how it worked is that Enzo, he's the captain, but she's the one that does most of the work.
Oh, all right. Now it all comes out. Okay.
I did say Enzo was all kind of like Flash and everything. He doesn't.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to have to add her in somewhere here, aren't I? Add a character.
She's very much in every essence, like, what do they call it on the ship? Like that, it's like the quartermaster or something that kind of keeps discipline and basically runs the entire bloody ship.
Yeah, I mean, like,
something like that.
I don't know, but
she's my number one.
I feel like James is gonna pop up in chat any second
somewhere. But she's my number one, first mate that runs the ship. I just get all the audits.
All right. What status you can have a 5 in then?
I would think, honestly, probably. I'll be honest. Probably warfare. She commands the ship. She's the one in charge doing orders and stuff. Yeah. Honestly, I'd probably say warfare. She's good at like.
Just give her a 2 in command. Yeah.
Ordering the battle. I mean, she's a fighter as well.
Yeah.
But
so a 4 in fighting.
Yeah. I think that'd be quite.
And another 4.
Another 4 probably in survival.
Survival.
Yeah.
And 4 3s.
Pretty. So.
Do you want to be? Do you want to be good fighting or good? Have a little bit of talkiness back in her as well.
No, she's a fighter. She isn't a talkie.
Just fighty. Yeah. fighty, and endurance. Cool. All right. What does she fight with?
Swords and shield.
Swords. Long blades.
But she doesn't fight with a. She essentially fights with. What do the Dothraki use? The curved blades. What are they called?
Arak.
Arak. Yeah, she's got one of those.
She fights with an arak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did she get an Arak?
You don't want to know.
Hang on a minute. I want to know what this.
We could just say it's a long sword.
I want to know what this runs off. No. You've said it now.
All right.
No.
I just thought the idea of an arak on a ship would be quite good because you just pull people off and fucking slice and dice.
Oh, it's long blades. Okay, that's fine
There you
then.
go.
Long blades 2. I won't put any into shields.
Yeah,
I don't
she's
think there's
got an
much
arak
point.
and like a leather shield.
Okay, orientation. Well, the thingy, and we'll have. Awareness notice. I'll give her 1 bonus dice.
Yeah,
as
she
well.
could do with awareness as well.
All right, cool. She is going to do you a survival orientation test.
Fantastic.
You're going to be rolling. Tom, I want you to roll it because it's
Okay.
fun. So you're going to be rolling 6 dice, keeping 4. And I need to check the book about what.
Okay, well, here we go.
What orientation here is like.
Well, she got an 18, so it's pretty damn good.
That's
It's not
all
bad.
right. That's all right.
She's a good. There's a reason she's my first mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. With an 18, I think we're good. So, yeah, she navigates you well down the estuary, going south from South Shield, the Shield Islands, and up towards, and slowly the land either side of you, either side of the ship, starts to narrow into that river, and you meet the Manda proper. And as it starts to narrow, you've got a fair amount of space at this part of the river either side of you, so you're not getting too nervous, but keeping the ship just on course and not having it Barry bump, as we like to call it on this channel.
Yes.
Is they're taking their time as a crew to kind of figure it out. And you notice particularly how the flea bottom deckhands are really just kind of only just figuring stuff out.
I'm gonna actually start. I'm gonna talk to them and kind of make them feel at home. Like be friendly with them, befriend them. It's how he runs the ship. Everyone there is like his friend until they're not, and then they get thrown overboard. It's kind of like that. So he'll be friendly, and then he'll tell a story of someone who tried to steal from him, and they keel-hauled him in front of everyone, and then threw him while still alive overboard.
Oh my god!
But then while rewarding people who came to him about, like trying to steal. So it's kind of like that. Welcome to the crew. Don't fuck with me. kind of thing.
All right. Why don't you roll for me persuasion?
I do want them to like me.
Roll me deception charm, because I tell you why. You're being all like, yeah, like me, but don't fuck with me.
Yeah, that's very much kind of like what I'm doing.
That's
Can I
what
not do
think this is.
persuasion intimidate?
Uh,
I mean, it's fine if you
no,
don't.
I'm going to keep it with deception, but you can do
no problem.
intimidate. You can use bonus dice for intimidate if you want.
No,
Yeah,
I'll do charm. That's so
All
much
right.
better for me. 'Cause
Deception
it's
charm
not-
is fine,
It's not good.
but you can still convey the kind of message.
11.
Okay, I mean that's gonna, I think, beat you there, kind of intrigue defenses and stuff. Yeah, and so you go around, make some new friends from little Bob down from Flea Bottom,
Bob.
and
Yeah.
he gets
And
the shit scared out of him.
Also like keep training them with ship, they always do kind of like ship because that's how you fight. It's ship combat. It's not like armies. It's scrappy. It's like grab anything you can.
Yeah.
Survival kind of thing. So they do kind of like fighting and yeah, just integrating them to the ship and how things work.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Nice. Getting to know them. Okie dokie. Mara.
Yeah.
You hear more from what's happening around camp and Samuel coming to you, that after marching south on Harris's orders, time has finally come that a rider has arrived at camp inviting the host to parley.
Is this from Highgarden or from Baelor's host?
This is from Baelor's host. And so Lord Harris asks that, just for purely interesting reasons, Lord Samuel, Lady Faye, and yourself, Lady Mara, to attend the parley. It's not going to notice that you are, the two ladies in particular, are very good diplomats, and so Harris is relying on the people around him to help with this. Now, obviously, for this intrigue, this parley with Baelor, I don't want to be role-playing against myself again. So, you guys, I'm obviously going to be asking you to lead it. The intrigue is going to be against Prince Baelor, so we're not doing like a kind of multi-person intrigue with stuff. And so there'll be one person leading the parley. I'll leave that up to you guys in terms of which player you want to lead and to be rolling their stats and stuff like that. The other members will be either assisting them or will be providing some kind of passive bonus that I've kind of house ruled a little bit, but it's kind of in the rules as unspoken. So let me just find what I mean. There we go. So, for example, if you feel bolstered by somebody, so you can kind of protect people from a particular technique, you can increase their DR a little bit. If you feel that you're kind of making someone else feel like they're correct, like they're true in their course of action, or you're kind of emotionally supporting a friend or a family member, it might be that you can lend a few composure to them as literally like hit points. If you're there to try and intercept and to counter what the other side is doing, you can give an intrigue defense bonus to the person leading the intrigue. Or if you're assisting them in a particular way, then you could get a +1 or a +2 bonus dice to a particular technique. So that would be like one of charm or convince or something like that. You might also be able to not provide an initiative bonus, but depending on the circumstances, you could automatically go first, say if it was in your courtroom or something like that. This isn't going to have that, unfortunately, for the intrigue. You're going to roll off, as this is a kind of meeting of two armies, so I think that's appropriate. So who wants to lead the proceedings from your side in this intrigue?
I mean, strategically, it should probably be Harris, and if it's not Harris, it should probably be Samwell. But mechanically, it should probably be somebody else.
Mechanically, Mara can from a hitting other people point of view, and she's been up against Baelor before in the courtroom and beforehand, but she is a glass cannon on the composure side of things.
Mm-hmm.
She works by getting people out before they get her out. So it feels like it'd be more appropriate for Samwell to lead it, since Harris is kind of second in command at the minute, right? That's like the position he's now assumed now that Samwell's here.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
So what benefit did you want to give to Samuel then, Mara?
I think Mara's benefit of being there is that the both of them now are, in fact, heads of House Tarley. They're no longer kind of under the guise that Papa Tarley's ill somewhere, so we're minding the house while this is going on. These are the two people in charge of those particular forces. So I feel like Mara would probably give some kind of bonus to convince or persuasion. That is her thing. That is how she would dip into help. And, probably talk to Samwell beforehand about her last experience with Baelor, because she didn't do too bad against him. She lasted a good while. And kind of, she also spoke to him in a more intimate setting after she waved a sword around in front of some guards' faces. So she knows what his kind of, from that, what she gathers his values are, because he does have a reputation that's drastically different from, Maekar's and a lot of the other Targaryens' reputations for being quite a fair man. He's not unreasonable.
Yeah.
And she's seen that firsthand. So I think she probably prepped Samwell with a lot of that, he is level-headed. You're not going to be able to get under his skin like you would Maekar. He's not going to throw something in. Everything he's going to say is going to sound reasonable, and be wary of it. Probably give the same pep talk to Harris. Harris is in this little circle. He hears the same thing.
All right. So what's your convince bonus dice? Let me see if it's like particularly high or anything like that.
It's 4.
Okay, so actually, yeah. So Samwell, you'll get a +2 bonus dice on top of whatever you've got for convince for this intrigue. And what do you think Lady Faye is bringing to the party?
At this stage in the conversation, I can't actually tell you that, because she's playing it so neutral.
Okay.
I don't know, she's having to play both sides of this.
You know what? I will give you a little outsider's role here.
Okay.
I will actually have you roll roll your intrigue initiative as well with the other 2 participants. Depending on kind of what you say, how you side yourself, there could be obvious narrative repercussions for that.
Okay.
Just because if you know the political situation that you're in. Okay. So under the banners of House Ball, House Tarley, the Rowan banner is not present by a standard bearer, and then there are other flags fluttering as in the vast distance, as some kind of a little forward party from the war host flies the other lords' flags. Riding up to meet you is a small skein of knights on horseback with standard bearers for House Targaryen. The blue field and yellow birds of House Crane is also being flown. The familiar face of the fox looking out from its standard flies the Florent flag. The golden rose of Highgarden is obviously also here on long green streaming banners. And there are a couple of other Crownlands banners that you don't necessarily recognise straight up. And then obviously the red dragon on the black field of Prince Baelor and House Targaryen. As the riders begin to draw in closer, Mara, your stomach begins to sink as at first you don't recognize the thin, pallid face that looks over your party, but the undeniable features of Lord Alistair Oakhart are riding on horseback to the left of Prince Baelor himself. To Prince Baelor's right is a noted Kingsguard member, that I, out of character, cannot remember who is Kingsguard at the moment, so he is not necessarily that amazingly important. But he's king. There is a Kingsguard riding next to the prince. But the prince rides up at the head of the skein and then slows down to a trot and stops about 10-15 yards away from Lord Harris and the head of your party. Lord Alistair's presence is going to incur a penalty dice to persuasion checks for you, as Samuel, you recognise him as well, and Mara's assistance is not as effective, as you can feel that distraction, that pull of this situation on your psyche, Mara.
I imagine that when she sees Alistair, there's that minute of like stomach churning, and then any of the fear that was going to be there just immediately bubbles away into this kind of deep, burning hatred of seeing this man again in front of her. And like for a long while, she just stares like she's trying to bore a hole into his face. And she's probably the one that points it out to Samuel. As you know, she's noticeably in her armor on the back of this horse, like gone from, you know, a bit anxious to like gripping at the reins of the horse. You can hear the leather twisting in her hands. She's really trying to keep her composure.
I imagine Samuel hadn't noticed Alistair there until Mara points out that that's Alistair. And there's kind of this awkward, like the front line, the horses, and like a little bit of a traffic jam. Maybe is Harris, is Samuel speaking for Harris because Harris is kind of like a little nervous?
No, I just like, we can imagine he's, you know, speaking as much as you are.
Okay. All right.
But, you know, again, you are kind of de facto second in command of this army, and so he's using you more as a kind of steward and stuff like that. Mm. So you're talking tactically. I just don't want to have to roleplay it myself.
Yeah, of course. So he kind of draws his horse around Mara's, and he gently, like, doesn't put it, because of the weight of the gauntlet, doesn't put the gauntlet hard and grab Mara's hand, but he does like brush the top of her hand with his gauntlet, and he says, you can hear it echoing from beneath his great helm. It'll be fine. This changes nothing.
She looks at him, and you can see like her jaw is clenched, and she tries to manage a very forced, reassuring smile. Like, I'm fine. I'm fine. We are here, and he is there, and I'm fine. And like, it's really obvious that she's telling that to herself, not Samuel. But you know, she eases up a little bit, like feeling the cold of that gauntlet on her hand kind of relaxes her grip on the reins, so she's no longer twisting the leather up so hard that it's starting to like fray on the edges, and just tries to relax into her saddle a bit more, trying not to break that poise that she's kind of left the camp with, and draws her horse back around so she's up level with Samuel.
There's such a strange feeling. And I wonder if you've actually ever experienced this, that you have seen a friend or you've seen someone who is looking for you in a crowd, and that you've got that kind of almost like slightly like I could be invisible feeling, as Alistair looks around the party looking for somebody, and you realise he doesn't recognise you immediately.
A little bit of her that smiles at that, just the edge of her lip on that ruined side of her face, that he doesn't recognize her, just makes her feel it's enough of that barrier of like, I am different enough now from the person he knew, and that somehow fills her with a little bit more courage. She's still just as angry though. She's just really trying not to show it.
That feeling of kind of maybe being invisible, and that, you know, that slight kind of funniness to it, I suppose, drains away quite quickly as Alistair finally sees your face, and it's perhaps your smile there that gives it away, and he suddenly stares at you. His mouth opens a little bit. You can see his breath, his anticipation to see you, bubbles to the surface a little bit. But there's something about him, something different. He looks scared. He looks less of a person. His eyes are a little glazed over. And this isn't quite the man you knew. He was often quite impulsive, quite a man of action, whereas now he looks very passive, and he looks as if he is just maybe staring at a painting, and he doesn't do anything else on horseback. But that moment is broken quickly, and you're snapped out of returning his stare by Prince Baelor, as he looks quizzically at the two young lords sat atop their horses in front of him, and he says, "Lord Harris Ball, Lord Samuel Tarley."
Lord Samuel rides forward just a couple of inches, the nose of his horse in front of Harris's, and as he does, he unfastens his great helm, and he takes his helm off and sets it in his lap and shakes out his blonde hair into the wind, and it reveals, some of those scars that are left on the side of his forehead and on the side of his face by his temple. And he's got a fierce look in his eyes. He's gripping his fingernails, pushing them into the tips of his gauntlets enough that it hurts. But his face remains very, very stoic and determined. He does not look to Alistair immediately. He keeps his gaze locked on Baelor. And he says, "Baelor Targaryen."
Baelor regards you for a second, and then kind of not hum, but he murmurs to himself, just like a okay, this is what's going on. Okay. So, Don, roll me your intrigue initiative.
All right.
Where is he?
I just changed all of my...
Do I need to roll mine as well at the same time, or is
yes,
that different?
please. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me.
Sam, I have a quick
that's
question.
status breeding.
Status breeding, yeah.
Okay, so I get +2 to whatever this is. Holy shit.
I'm actually... he's no longer Hand of the King, so actually, I just realised. That's 3 6s there. Let me drop
Sam,
4.
maybe he got his old job back, seeing as the current Hand of the King is dead.
Whose side are you on, Miriam?
I'm
Shit,
sorry.
you're right.
It's Baelor. I'm sorry, okay?
Susie, you know when you open your mouth and you immediately regret it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I deleted that quality and now I have to find it again. No, I remember what I remember what it was. Maybe. Okay. Yeah. I can put this back now. So you just give him 3 more bonus dice, that's fine, don't worry. Don't worry yourself. It's okay.
Sorry, friends. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry, and V, you had a question.
No, I just wondered, as Mara is now eventually shifts her attention off Alistair onto Baelor once he starts speaking. She just looks down to where his sword would hang. Is he carrying his own, or is he carrying the sword that he took from Mara from way back when that belonged to her father?
Baelor or Alistair?
Baelor. Because she ended up giving that sword to Baelor. Well, he took it as a gift and she didn't say that it wasn't.
No, he is not wielding that sword.
She's just curious.
All right, I need. Sorry, getting set up, getting my little intrigue. Get your sheets out. Get your cheat sheets out. We're gonna go. We're gonna hit it now. Right.
I'm gonna roll status to see if I get as a free action.
Against the target's intrigue defense.
Intrigue defense.
Okay. Yes. What do you get out of that?
I get +1 bonus dice that I can spend at some point, and every 2 degrees above their. So at 3, no, it's at 1 degree of success, 1 bonus dice, 2 degrees, 2 bonus dice, 4 degrees, 3 bonus dice.
It's 1 degree.
Fuck. All right.
This is a. Oh, this is breeding. Okay, hang on.
What is this from?
It's just status, just a regular status.
So against you, how many degrees of success is 31?
I don't think he gets his bonus dice. It's just a flat status roll.
Oh.
But 31 is 4 degrees of success versus me, if that's what he got.
I can roll 7 dice and keep them if you want.
No, he's going to get 4 degrees. I mean, he's probably going to get 4 degrees.
Oh, maybe not.
Ooh.
Maybe not. Okay.
Oh my god, that's 3 1s.
I'm glad I wasted it on that.
So he'll get 2 bonus dice.
Okay. And that's just to kind of use around the intrigue, is it?
That's right.
I can't remember the specific testicle. Okay, sweet. Might as well use your own little thing against you.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, dokie. So Prince Baelor opens quite plainly. Lord Ball, young Sir Tarley, we are here in the Reach in order to keep the King's peace. I ask simply today for you to honour that, to keep the peace, to lay down your arms so that we might, so that the realm might do so as well. Stop this rebellion at the behest of His Grace, King Daeron the Good. And you will have my word as Hand of the King and Lord Protector of the realm, that we can be lenient. We were merciful before, my young lords. We can do so again. I just ask that you stop this bloodshed.
Samuel Tarley rocks his horse forward just a half step, and neighs a little bit, and he smiles and he says, Lord Protector, you'll find that of all the bloodshed that has occurred in the Reach thus far, very little of it is on our hands. We have decided as a nation that we no longer wish to be ruled by your house. It is our food that feeds our people and has long fed yours as well. You take from us too much for too long. The Reach has rallied around this in peace, and the only true bloodshed en masse is at the responsibility at the hands of Prince Aeron at Summerhall. When he murdered his own wards, he burned his own troops and men to the ground, his own palace to the ground. Your nephew, with wildfire, my lord. Our wards have been treated fairly. They've been fed and taken care of. We have not sieged or smashed a castle in the Reach. Our people are united. And so if you are here to keep the peace, the best way in which you can do that is to, with your honor, take your armies, cross the Mander, and return to your Red Keep. This land is no longer yours.
Okay, he is going to roll for Shield of Reputation. He was talking about his honor and being lenient as Hand of the King. Rolls a 32 against your passive will.
That's a big success.
Okay, but we're just looking for a success here. So your disposition towards him is actually going to increase 1 step.
Okay.
As perhaps you're just without being able to resist it, you are kind of surprised by just how, like, you've heard stories of how he's and how lenient, how honorable he is, and staring down at the face of his enemy, he is still like this. He is canonically likable, and so you can't help but have some respect for that. So that's gonna obviously reduce your DR. It's gonna move it up by 1 step, but just 1.
Okay.
That's his big first play. But please roll what you want to roll: persuasion, convince, intimidation, whatever, or even kind of, if you think of your reactions too, if you want to retarget or something, if you want to,
No, I think he's made it so clear where he's coming from in all this with his words. Part of what Samwell's doing is not just trying to convince him, and also to bring up the very real fact that the big reason that the Reach rallied around the Tarly host is because of the Targaryens burning their wards alive, burning down their own palace. And he's saying that loud enough so that the Reacher lords who are still here, they have to take that in. They have to understand that. They have to hear it again. He sent out letters, but it's being brought up again. And now we get to see how this prince responds. So I think it's convince.
You are going to receive a +3 static modifier to your result because of this truth that you're coming out with, and what actually happened at Summerhall, which can be obfuscated through the kind of fog of war or what kind of rumors they want to put out themselves.
Okay.
Bear in mind the penalty die to convince because of Alistair's presence, distracting both you and Mara as she helps you.
Yes.
And okay, if it's just convince, then yeah.
Okay.
We're good. I was just checking out the rest of his qualities.
So it's going to be a 19 with 1/6.
It's 1 degree of success.
Oof. Okay. So that is going to be 3 influence.
Okie dokie. What did you say the result was? Sorry?
It's 19.
A 19, actually. Okay, so that's... actually 2 degrees of success.
Okay.
So it's...
Because that's just about as good as I could have rolled. So that's 6 influence.
Cool. Okay. He looks around to the advanced party he's got behind him and around to the knights that are around him. He looks over at Alistair briefly, but he doesn't really bring him up in what he says. But he says, it sounds as if Summerhall was a real hell brought forth into the 77 kingdoms. But I'm afraid you are not correct. Sir Sam. The Oak Hearts ride with us. Most of the Highgarden host rides behind us. Florence. The Cranes. Many of the other Reacher Lords have not joined your side, have not marched with you. It's unfortunate that my lady, the Marshal of the North Marches, rides with you. But I
She
can't
does
help but
not.
notice that I do not see your banner flying.
That is because I am here hostage, not riding with him. Has word of this not reached anyone?
I had heard,
Good.
but boards can be turned, of course. But this is your unified reach, your unified realm, is it, Lord Harris? Lord Samwell?
By all accounts, I've heard nothing but that you are a great knight, an honorable man, respected by all. And yet you do your honor a disservice, Protector, to pretend that these people who fight on your side do so because they are loyal to you, because of your honor, and not because they are terrified of the iron gauntlet and the terror your family has inflicted upon the Reach for generations, and still inflicts now. You can deflect however you'd like, but there was no justice for Summerhall. And you can see the difference, and he gestures aside to Lady Faye, and how we treat our wards during a time of war, and how you do.
Faye will snort laugh at that, and not subtly.
He doesn't.
And
He doesn't
shoot him a
respond to
look.
that.
Like, what?
So if we're to parley, Protector, I would love to hear what it is you as an honorable knight intend to do about Summerhall.
What happened, Sir Samuel? Tell me.
We came to free the wards of Summerhall, the Reacher wards of Summerhall. Your brother was already gone, his son taking control of the keep. We entered into the palace, into the grounds, and he had set up a trap. He had tied every ward he kept, including those who were his own allies, their children, babies, up like hogs in his hall. He had set wildfire all around the room. His own soldiers were in the palace. And then he set it all aflame. And they all died screaming in terror, my lord. But I did not. I survived. And I made sure that the Reach hears this story of what it is the Targaryens are truly capable of. And although many would claim that dragons do not burn, I saw the boy devoured by his own fire. Another myth to keep the Reach in fear.
I had not heard news from Summerhall. apart from my family, apart from the rumors that circulated.
All of these lords have heard it. I sent letters to every Reacher house.
And I am my nephew, am I? I am my brother.
You are Targaryen, and you are responsible because of your entitlement for all of the woes the Targaryens have inflicted and do inflict. You cannot say you come here in peace and maintain that your system and your house has a right here to rule when you have benefited from these atrocities yourself.
I can understand your anger, but we have ruled for over 2 centuries. And yes, that has not always been good. But my father has seen to that in more recent years, and I intend to follow his example. Work together with us, instead of fighting us, bringing more bloodshed to the realm. You seem to be perpetuating what you hate in me the most.
We have not brought battle to the Reach. We have kept, up to this moment, civil war out of our nation. And it is our nation, my lord. If you are serious about doing better, about being better, then let us work together with you and your land and us and ours. Leave our nation, return to the crownlands. The Reach is no longer yours. That is making things right.
All right, I'm going to roll my taunt here. I am going to use my test die.
Is this persuasion?
This is persuasion.
I think he gets -1d on this as well for my new quality.
Oh yeah? Oh, okie dokie. So that will be a 14.
Okay.
That was a pretty terrible roll.
Yeah. Whew. It's still 2 degrees of success though.
Oh, nice.
You know what? No, I am going to do it now, because if I don't, I'm just going to get steamrolled in this. And I'm going to use my anointed. I'm going to improve my passive defense by 5.
Yep. Yeah. So that includes your retreat defense. So does that deflect off then in the end?
Makes it 1 degree.
1 degree. Okay. Taunt comes off of awareness. Did I give him good awareness? I did not. 3 composure damage.
Okay.
Which probably doesn't go through your DR anyway.
No. And I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm still just trying to convince him, but I'm also trying to convince, like, this is really like part of it's me trying to convince the other Reacher lords here too.
Yeah, sure thing.
Who I haven't had a chance to meet with and speak with yet, to parlay with. And I'm going to go ahead now, use my bonus die from my status.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
So let's see here. Where is this? Convince. Okay. A 20 with 2 6s.
A 20 is nice. It's 2 degrees, but it's not double.
Okay.
So what's the damage?
It's 6 influence.
Okay. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, but he essentially retorts to you that what you or even the young Lord Harris here has more claim over the Reach than, say, Lord Tyrell, who is in your captivity, of Lady Rowan, of some ancient and some progeny of Garth Greenhand, somewhere around the Reach. If you are really true about what you claim, about wanting to work with us as a separate realm, not that I can give you that today, I'm afraid, my young lord. I am not yet king. Why should it be not Lord Leo that rules you, then?
I would have you ask Lord Leo himself, but he is largely unresponsive these days. Lord Leo met with a war council. We spoke of the future of the Reach. He heard the majority of his own lords state that they intended to answer the call of Blackfyre and to fight for independence of the Reach. Leo had every opportunity to stand with the people of the Reach, and he decided he wouldn't. Why not Leo? Because Leo has allowed the atrocities and the failures of the Reach to perpetuate. Under his rule, he's been more worried about tournaments and parties than he has about leading, and he would have seen the entire Reach fall into civil war rather than listen to his own people.
Faye looks personally offended at this.
I think once Samwell kind of answers this question, Mara kicks her horse forward to come up and meet his. Forgive me, my lord, but my husband answered your question, and you are yet to tell us the answer to his regarding the atrocity that happened at Summerhall, the wards that burned. What about the justice that they deserve?
You
My
hear from
brother
his flank under as you're speaking. You can't help but hear it kind of under their breath. You hear from Alistair as you say your husband.
Mara does that on purpose.
Oh no, totally, I get it. You hear a Mara.
She doesn't even look over to him. She keeps her eyes fixed on Baelor. My brother burned at Summerhall, hog-tied, like an animal in its great hall. The son of a house that supports your king. Marcia Greenmont has done nothing but support your king. Has the ear of your brother, and yet your nephew burned her son alive.
And yet Lady Marcia lends me her forces today.
That does not answer the question, my lord.
No.
That was asked of you.
No, it doesn't. So let me ask this. If I were to imprison any of those remaining alive that were responsible for the atrocities of Summerhall, if I were to pay in return the houses compensation for their losses.
You think gold compensates for their losses?
What would compensate, Lady Mara?
Exactly what my husband just described to you.
Our deaths.
If you're serious about wanting peace here,
I am.
as much as we are serious of never having to see the atrocities like Summerhall and the many others over the centuries that your family have ruled these kingdoms. Let the Reach depart. Let it be independent. Let us be your neighbors, perhaps your allies one day, but our own. As many of the people that have gathered, that live and fly and fight under those banners, have rallied here for. That is how you make it right. And then she'll get her horse to backwards trot slightly and kind of depart from that bit and just say her piece. But she didn't like the way he didn't answer the question.
Baelor says, I feel as if the only payment that might be amenable to you would be our family's death. That I cannot offer you while I still have blood in my veins and breath in my body. And I cannot speak for the cessation of the Reach either. But
this rebellion was brewing long before Summerhall.
But I ask you, and he looks at Samuel and Harris, I ask you to please allow yourself this opportunity now to lay down your arms, to bring peace to the Reach once more. Because the Targaryens, we have been through this once already. Lord Leo knows of that too. And he would know, as your father knows, that we have put one rebellion down. And we have the forces to do so again.
Samuel looks aside to Faye for a moment and then back to Baelor, and he says, my father is dead, my lord.
I am sorry for your loss.
Well, let me speak plainly to you as a man of honor, and me as a man trying to hold on to mine, but with perhaps less polish and less practice than my prince. I know that you cannot speak for the king, that you cannot grant a succession, but I can tell you now, as Lady Rowan said, this rebellion was brewing before Summerhall. It was brewing before my birth, and it was born on the back of every atrocity of every generation of your family. You cannot grant us freedom yourself, but you can give us peace. If you are a man of honor and you truly wish for peace, take your armies back to the Red Keep and speak to the king. Tell him what we have said here. Tell him what you think is right. And let the Reach rule the Reach. That is how you create an ally. Otherwise, my lord, this will happen again and again and again, generation after generation. Right now is not like my father's war. Right now, we seek freedom. And I would let you go in peace.
All right. He is going to try and convince you. So I'm going to roll this dice. There's a penalty dice to convince now here, right?
Just his first convince. Now it's not.
Oh, got you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember now. 22.
Yep, that's better. Let's see. It's 3 degrees of success.
3 degrees. Is it double?
It is double.
1 6 gives me sharp tongue. Ignore 2 of your opponent's DR on this.
Okay.
3 degrees of success with his will rank is going to be 12, and he's got quality to give him an improvement on this, so it's actually going to be 15 composure damage.
15 composure damage. Oh, Jesus. Okay, hold on.
You can take frustration. Each frustration you take is like an injury. Not a wound. It reduces your it reduces the composure damage that you're going to take by your will rank each time. If your frustration equals your will rank, you're out.
Well, I'm definitely taking a point of frustration because I have to. And it reduces it by my will rank.
Yeah, each point of frustration reduces the incoming damage
by. What was the total? Rank. You said 15.
15. Yeah, 3 degrees, 5 each time. 5, 5, 5. But yours, if your will's 3 or 4, then it will reduce it by 3 or 4.
I mean,
remember your DR as well.
Yeah, I did. But he cuts through 2 of that, right?
Yeah.
All right, I will take 2 frustration to survive this, which is going to impact my roll significantly. I mean, I think the highest I can get is a 9, right? So that's not even going to beat his intrigue defense.
No. I mean, you can take consider action. There are other things you could do.
I can't get full bonus. I can't get full test die, and at this point, I'm just rolling 1 die.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When you take away 2 more dice from frustration, that just leaves me with 1 dice.
All right.
Because I have the penalty from Alistair.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you try and convince him to walk away, but it doesn't land with him as you might expect. And so what I'm going to say is he is going to actually withdraw, because I think the kind of the point that you've got to is this like impasse. And he says, it's such a shame, but I hope that you find honor on the battlefield. Samuel.
I will be looking for you, my lord.
And he turns his horse around and he starts to walk it away, and so does the Kingsguard knight that is with him, just behind him. And the only lord that remains, just the last person, just before he turns around his horse, is Alistair. And he looks still at Mara, and his horse kind of doesn't take a full step, but kind of there's like that impulse to move forward, maybe just feeling something from his their rider. And again, he just says to you, kind of under his breath, Mara.
Can Mara hear him say this? I think she has a moment where, like, as his horse kind of steps forward, she brings hers forward as well, and anticipating him riding up to her. She doesn't know what he's doing. She looks at him.
Yeah, and there's that weird
just
awkwardness to that.
Takes him in for a moment in this anger and just looks over him. I'm not sure what you could possibly have to say to me. Because I have nothing to say to you. And she just sits there on her horse. She's waiting to see if he just leaves. She's not going to be the first one to leave. She's stubborn and angry. She wants to watch him walk away.
And he doesn't quite have the words to begin with, and then he kind of like eventually just comes out with some conflicting, it's like two sentences are trying to jam themselves together, like a kind of what are you doing with why don't you
Let me make something very clear to you, Sir Alistair. I never want to see your face again. I hope I forget what it looks like. And when this war is over, if you are still alive, if you ever step foot in my lands and my husband's lands, I will have you skinned alive, and I will mount your head over my fireplace as a warning to the next person that crosses me. Do I make myself clear?
You see in his body this like, it's like fighting himself, and his psyche just kind of pushing out as his limbs kind of move about, and he kind of breathes heavily, kind of like like in and out as he kind of looks at you and doesn't quite know whether to back away, to almost like attack, to do something. But he kind of, his horse starts to buck and he starts to kind of ride forward and back a little bit. And he says through like gritted teeth, and you get both like desperation and this like bitter anger. He says like, "Oh, my wife," and he's like basically heading like back and forth on his horse, and you just, it's so weird because it's like he's, you know, like his like tears are starting to fall down his face, but he's not like crying.
I think Mara, like she's doing this like when you're scared and you're angry, so you just like push out all of the anger to block out all of the weird fear and awkwardness. Just looks at him, and like she's expressionless. There's no pity, no empathy. I stopped being your wife a very long time ago. I believe your mother received the paperwork, but you are not my husband.
He looks away, and you can see that he's kind of like, there's like almost spasms, like he's tensing up, and he's kind of like looking away for a second, and he looks back over at you, and it's almost as if there's something in his head that's saying this to him, or that maybe he's saying this to himself, but he says out loud to you, "I am Lord Oakheart now, and I must do my duty." And he turns and he bucks his horse to catch up with the rest of the party.
And Mara kind of under her breath, not to him, but almost like she would say it to him if he hadn't turned around, but she can't help herself anyway. When I see a lord, I'll refer to one. And just waits until he's like properly got his horse turned around. If he hears it, he hears it. But like, she might say it just loud enough that he might catch it as he turns, but she won't move her horse an inch until he's already started leaving. And she'll keep her eyes fixed until he's a decent distance away, and then turn her horse back around. But by the time she does that, if Samuel's there to have seen this exchange, the color, like immediately as soon as her back's turned, drains from her face. And she's like shaking. She can't move her horse because she can't even grip the reins for shaking, and just kind of slumps forward on it, like physically, not crying because she's upset, but fear and anger, and just steadies herself on her horse. She can't ride, she can't move. And she's just looking at Samuel with this face that's just like, help me.
Did Samuel see that entire interaction, that entire weird interaction?
It was obvious. He was, yeah. It was,
all right.
A lot of it was fairly maybe involuntary for him.
Samuel doesn't approach, like he kind of freezes for a moment when he turns his horse around. He witnesses this interaction with Alistair. His hard expression is instead kind of just inflicted with confusion and a little bit of pain too. And when Alistair finally turns and blows off past him, riding back to his own camp, his own group, there's just a moment where Samuel's gauntlet like reaches out over the horse's head for a second, just slightly towards him, and he whispers the word Alistair. But it's probably in the hoofbeats, in the dirt, too quiet to hear. And he watches him go, the strange look in his eyes. He swallows and takes his helm, his great helm, and he puts it back over his head and fastens it. And then he kicks his horse and turns aside, and he sees that Mara's there, slumped over, pale, on her horse. And he gently rides past towards Mara and Faye and the rest, and just very quietly, echoing out from behind his helm, he says, "It's going to be all right. The worst of it's over now."
And she's still like, it's like she can't breathe. She's trying to catch her breath, trying to take these deep breaths in, but they just disappear from her lungs immediately. And she looks up and looks at him through the kind of grates on the helm. "I meant what I said. I will kill him if he comes anywhere near me, or you, our camp, our lands."
I know.
"I will not have that monster back in my life." And like her jaws shaking as she says it, and she's still crying, and she sounds angry, but her face is just fear. Like Samuel's probably never seen her this afraid, and he saw her right before the trial while she was pregnant and afraid that she was about to lose everything. But she is like white as a sheet.
Faye has been watching this whole exchange, like trying to remain as dignified and upright on her horse as possible. But the longer it's gone on, the tighter her hands have gone on her reins. And she'll watch this happen and just step her horse past the two of them and pause slightly and look at her with this utter disgust. "The cat who took your beauty was not half such a beast as you." And just slowly walk back to camp.
I don't even know if Mara hears her. She is too busy, probably at this point, trying to grip onto Samuel to find something to like steady her, because she can't breathe. Everything around her is like a bubble going on. So if she hears Faye, she's probably not even going to realize what Faye said to her until about 10 minutes later. Doesn't acknowledge it. Is just gripping onto the side of Samuel's arm, pressing her fingers into that armor, because she it's like she's locked on the spot. She can't move. She is so deathly afraid in that moment.
Samuel doesn't offer a lot of comfort. He's very quiet beneath his armor. He lets you grip onto his arms, and he'll hold out his arms so you can grab onto it as tight as you want. But he's distant for a few long moments before he says, "The worst of it's over. There's a battle to come. Now is the time for us to be strong."
And she nods at him through bleary eyes and tries to sit herself up. But I imagine that, like, if she tries to ride, it's not a pretty sight. She can't control that horse in that moment.
I think he gets back. He gets some of his resolve back once he gets going with the horse, and he'd even reach out and help, like, guide the reins too.
I imagine Samuel has to guide that horse back, because Mara her hands are shaking too much.
Miria.
I've died after that scene. I'm just fucking dead from secondhand exposure.
I know.
Shit. Fuck.
Fucking shade. Right. Ironwood Keep is a welcome sight.
Mm-hmm.
And you left it pretty much just as it was. when you march north. So you are rushed up as quickly as you can up to the solar of your late father, and you are phrasing you are shown to bed as quickly as possible. It's Maester Dorian. As old and as doddery as he is, you've never seen him move as quick. And in a kind of haze of like fever and pain, you see his shadow kind of flash before you as he moves back and forth around the bed, but he begins to pour boiling wine into your wounds, and he then tries to burn out the infection. He gives you poultices, and then after a while a bit of milk of the poppy for the pain, so that you can actually sit through and endure what's going on to you. You might black out once or twice, but we're going to need a roll from him.
Can I donate any of my die?
Gang, what do we think? Because this isn't technically Susie's role.
It's not my role.
This is one of my NPC's roles.
It is for her character, though.
It is, yeah.
I did fuck you all over earlier with the info about Baelor.
We all fuck each other over. That's just how we do it.
That's how we show love.
Can I get a show of hands who thinks that Susie should be able to donate dice? Don was a yes. Okay, that's 3.
All right,
okay,
Tom, I fucking see you, you shady bitch. All right.
That breaks the ties.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, let me just get a notepad really quick. So Garamond dies in the first episode. Okay, thanks.
Oh my god, you called him Garamond. All right, I tell you what. You can use Destiny here.
Okay.
But you can't use dice from your frame.
All right. I will give him my Destiny point.
Okay. You will. Are you spending that, or are you burning that?
Well, consider that I have just given it to you, Sam, to do with what you will. So spend it or burn it. It's up to you.
Did I give you a Destiny point?
No, but I'm giving you my Destiny point.
Oh, you want me to decide?
Because I won it, right? Yeah, you decide. And if I die, it's your fault.
How do you win a Destiny point?
And now our New Year's quiz.
Oh shit! Yeah,
that was the prize.
Oh, I remember now. Yeah. Sorry. It was more than like a week ago. I've forgotten everything.
Yeah, I know. We've all slept since then. It's fine.
Exactly. Okay. So we can convert all bonus dice into test die. That's not going to help. There's no bonus dice in treat. It's just in diagnosis. Yeah, add the +5 to the result for burning. But so I could just get a +1 dice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could have it. You could have the Destiny point back once you've gotten over your thing, right? I suppose your objective right now is to get better.
Survive.
Right. Susie, what do you want to do? Do you want a +1D or do you want a +5 to result?
Let's. I know James is screaming somewhere in a tiny flat in London to take the flat modifier, never take a dice. But for the juice, let's just have a dice. Fuck it, let's do it.
All right. Right, I'm gonna play this by the rules. So what you would do in this situation is you would diagnose first of all. You may examine a sick or injured patient to see what's wrong with them and try to determine. A typical test is formidable 12 when the patient is present, so the difficulty can drop as far as 0 if the cause of the injury is rapidly apparent. It's hard to miss a spear stuck in the belly. When diagnosing an absent patient, blah, blah, blah. A successful test means you understand the general problem, while a failed test means you must guess. Each additional degree on the test grants +1 dice on the healing test to treat the patient, up to the number of bonus dice you have vested in this specialty. What do we think the difficulty of this diagnosis is? You have... Okay, describe your wounds for us.
Well, she has... she got shot through, like, the lower abdomen by Bloodraven. Her left shoulder, I think, is just like shattered, like broken, because that was her shield arm, right? So she took a lot of heavy blows there, and then she took that big whack through the head from Maekar. So she's probably got a fractured skull too.
You took 2 wounds, right?
2 wounds, yeah.
So specifically,
specifically,
there's, I guess, the hit to the
head.
Was the 2 wounds part of the Maekar's thing?
No, so the first wound was the crack to the noggin, and the second wound was the arrow. So those are the 2 specific wounds.
I think this is going to be like a difficulty 3, because it might be like, oh, you know, the head's been hit hard, but to understand the fracture and what might actually be happening to the brain is probably a little bit more difficult. But a 3 is like peasy. All right, so that was that. I haven't done the test die yet. Okay, so let's do this. Diagnosis is 15, which is 2 degrees of success.
Wait.
Yes. Or 3.
3, right?
3 goes up to 8, goes up to 13. 3 degrees of success.
3 degrees.
Well, hey.
Hey!
Okay. So that's +2 dice on the treatment. And you want to spend the destiny point. Oh man, this is going to be... I mean, he was rolling 4 dice for healing. 4, 5, 6, 7?
7? Oh, that's a lot. Okay.
That feels like a lot.
Good as new.
Each additional degree on the test grants +1 dice on the healing test.
Okay.
Up to the number of bonus dice. Oh no! Always read the full rules, people. Up to the number of bonus dice you have invested in this specialty. He has... Oh, in this specialty? Okay. His diagnosis is 2, so he will get those +2 dice. Okay. And you'll add a third to your thing. Okay. Because I was thinking in the treat injury specialty, right? Okay,
yeah. Jesus.
This isn't even like... This is mechanical juice. This is so weird. Right, okay. We're rolling 7 dice. The difficulty for your injuries, because you rushed, is 21. If he rolls a 16 or less, you will gain another wound.
And die.
And you will die.
Omega crit time, Sam. I can't look.
That is only on 7 dice. 1 degree of success. Fucking hell. I rolled...
You only need 1 degree. You're easy peasy.
I rolled a 1, a 2, a 2, a 2, a 5... a 4, a 5, and a 6.
Sam, if you hadn't have rolled that 6, I would have died. Oh, God. Fuck you, roll 20. I gave you my firstborn child.
Okay. You are cured of 1 wound. I think it's the arrow wound.
Yeah.
I'd say, probably.
That's probably easiest to treat, right?
Treat injury. Substitute your healing for the endurance test. The patient must accept the result of your healing test, even if it's worse than what they could have achieved on their own. A patient in your care never at risk of further injury from a failed healing test. Okay. So the Maester was a good call.
Yeah, for the juice, though. I wouldn't mind dying at 16.
You can't have gained another. Okay, yeah. All right. So flipping in and out of consciousness, you are pleased to awaken to a bandage around your abdomen. The pain has subsided slightly, and you are no longer bleeding through every bandage that is affixed to your abdomen. Maester Dorian, who I would assume you've spoken to you about your pregnancy.
Yeah, he's probably the only one that knew, because Sheila gone to him to confirm, just been like, hey, so.
Yeah. And so he says the arrow shot was quite close to the baby. I do not believe, though, that there was any actual injury to your womb, obviously. But I am not sure what the trauma may have done to the child. I will keep you in my prayers tonight.
Thank you, Maester. What do you suggest?
Rest. And he heads out into the evening. And that is where we will wrap things up for tonight, folks. Oh, that was close.
That was close.
That was close. All right. Whoa. I want to say to V particularly, in our 6 seasons of this game, I have never heard anything so fucking shady as when I see a lord, I will I'll refer to one. Fuck my life.
She knows that he is Lord of Old Oak, but she did that in the letter that she initially wrote to him. She called him several times in it Sir Alistair. She refused to acknowledge him as Lord of Old Oak.
Yeah.
Partly because she's petty and partly because she doesn't think he deserves it. She didn't particularly like Lord John, but at least he was a lord. Alistair, in her mind, is still a boy hunting glory, doing stupid shit. Like that's what he was the last time that she saw him, and that's the impression she still has, and it hasn't got any better seeing the state of him.
No, not at all. All right. Look, we better wrap up quick, actually, because my headphones have a 4-hour battery life and they're about to die. I can hear them starting to go a bit more tinny. So let's go around, get everyone's quick reactions, how you're all doing, and then we'll sign off and we'll raid very quickly, hopefully. So Tom, thanks for staying up so late with us. You're still here. Right. You're still going.
Yeah, I am still here. I am still awake. I mean, how could I sleep after that? I mean, bloomin' egg.
I know.
Goodness me.
Any shout outs? What are you doing? What are you up to? Are you playing Phasmo?
We didn't this week, but we hopefully will be playing it next week. I mean,
cool.
I hope so.
Nice
but that's pretty much all I'm doing. Just playing Phasmo on Tuesdays with Susie and the lovely Millie. And hopefully be back here Thursday next week for more After the Fire action and all that.
It's battle time. I'm looking forward to the Mermaid Sapphire just rocking up and shooting people.
I realised fucking sailing halfway through a battle. I'm like, I just want one person. That's it. I don't want any.
I love
of
it.
This.
It's so Game of Thrones, though.
Very Enzo, though, isn't it? Like, just sort of coast past in the middle of a war. Like, excuse me, look at my massive ship.
Could you just stop the battle for 5 minutes while I just get this done?
Yeah, I just want to get laid. Is that all right? I'll leave you to it.
And you can get back to it. I'll buy you all drinks. It's fine. I'll buy you all drinks.
I'm just imagining if we'd been on the other side of the river, like, shots going over, and then Enzo's ships rolls up just between the two armies, and all of us being like, well, now we have to wait for this to pass.
Yeah. Sorry. He's just going, sorry.
Excuse me, just coming through.
Well, you're that guy at the cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. We gotta move on. Millie, where can we find you when you're doing stuff on the internet?
Yeah, I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff. Just follow me on Twitter and I'll tell you about it. I'm playing Vampire the Masquerade tomorrow, nothing over the weekend, and then Drifting on Monday and Phasmo on Tuesday, and probably Wild RP on Wednesday. So
Lush.
Yeah, I'm in deep now. It was bad.
Oh.
That thing that everybody said was addictive turned out addictive. Weird that.
Yeah. All right. Susie's alive. You're alive. You're alive.
And still, for the time being, pregnant. So yeah. Thank God. Y'all are shady bitches. I saw what you did there, Dawn. You're also the messiest bitch out of a lot of us. I'm here for it. I love it. I will be on my channel tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern playing more Elden Ring because that's all I do these days. It is my life because it's a good game. So tune in for that. Then on Monday, hopefully we'll get some Crusader Queens going on with Sam and I fucking snatched and try and snatch crowns.
I've got one.
Success.
I don't need to snatch
We're all
nothing.
queens, actually. Yeah, we don't need to. Tuesday, Phasmo, as Tom and Millie said. Millie's lovely. Tom can get fucked because he only called Millie lovely, not me. Then Wednesday, I'll be back here at 2 p.m. for Hexcrawl, where I play a spy.
Thanks. And Dawn, what are you up to?
I run games, I write games. I'm working on a few books for new books for Dark Matter, new books for Fallout, and I've got some other things I can't talk about right now, but all that's going really well. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to hear. It's mostly my retweets. Every once in a while I tweet, or you can check out my Patreon if you're interested in checking out some of my games as seats open up. But other than that, I'm looking forward to next week in the battle. Loved this session. It was very juicy. Did I even get close to beating Baelor in that intrigue? I didn't think so.
I want Faye to fight him out of canon just for fun. I want to see what happens.
That's Susie, write that down for the wrestling.
Sam, if you hadn't withdrawn, I was going to take it to combat in the next round. I was.
Nice.
I've never done it before.
Glad I dodged that because I could have that could have
gotten messy. Yeah, it's probably the best.
So his unmodified intrigue defense is 14. His composure's 12. You managed to get him down to 8.
Okay, well, that's respectable.
12?
Yeah.
Huh.
I feel like I did pretty good. I feel like I gave my best pitch for him to go home, but I was very happy with how it all played out.
Oh, 12 is 3 times the rank. Yeah. Cool. All right. That's all right. You'll never talk to him ever again, so I let you know that.
At his funeral, I will.
Yeah, talk about him. And V. Oh my god. Phenomenal.
I didn't. So, like, I knew that Mara would turn her complete and total fear of what Alistair coming back means and turn that into anger. But I don't even know if she really believes the threat. Everything else she said was entirely true about him. But I don't know if she believes that she would really kill him if he did. I think that is just her just trying to, like an animal trying to bare its teeth and just being like, don't give me a reason to. Just if I frighten you off now, then we don't ever have to deal with this again. But we'll see.
Nice.
We will see.
Where can people find you and what are you up to?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm slowly getting back to streaming once a week across random days. Like Susie, I am just an Elden Ring Twitch channel now. That's the only gaming that exists. Until Mass Effect happens once I get a proper set schedule back. Otherwise, I'm just working on things, working on some Fallout stuff, some other writing stuff that I can't properly talk about. That's about it. And some exciting things happening towards the end of the month, which I will eventually talk about.
Cool. All right then, folks. Well, I like my earphones are starting to go, and then I'll switch to speakers when we're off. But so let me do this. Let me do the plugs. You can follow us around the internet at Follow Black Cats or Black Cats Gaming. You can buy our stuff, our spy game that we play on a Wednesday, at blackcatsgamingshop.com, other reputable local brick and mortar stores, and Drive Through RPG. And we're back on a Wednesday for our spy game campaign, Hexcrawl, where we are existing, trying to survive, trying to blow up capitalism in a surveillance capitalist world gone mad. Mondays, hopefully we're back with some Crusader Queenage. That should be fun. Bit of drag, bit of grand strategy, because they were just dying to be mixed, basically. Just needed to happen. Apart from that, folks, please have a lovely time. Please, he says, looking for a thing to raid. I don't know.
Make sure that you're following us on YouTube at Black Cats Gaming, where you can cast all past and present episodes of all the shows that we do here on this channel, whether that be Hexcrawl, After the Fire, or the one-shots of the various RPGs that we've done over the months. Please do check it out.
We're going to have Devorpal Tales because they're on my friends list and they're playing D&D. So go over and see them. Say hi. You have to be a follower or a subscriber to chat, apparently. It is warning me. But yeah, go follow them. Go and have a chat, see what they're up to, and give them some love from us. Until maybe Monday, maybe Wednesday, but definitely next Thursday. Take care of each other. We'll see you then. Ta-ra.